to get your jaw back from the floor, bring it closer to your upper lip, and tell us, you look astounded.
Yeah, no, she's very, very observant. I was not that observant when I visited my partner as she was living at home at her parents' place.
Okay.
I was more worried about how they're going to see or judge me.
Right.
But then when I got in there, they were so warm, welcoming. The dad, you know Mandela's stature.
Mm-hmm.
He was tall, big, and
Yes.
you could feel his presence. I was very intimidated, but he was very warm and welcoming. So I didn't really observe much. I was just worried about what they think about me.
You should have taken me
Yes.
with. I would have done the
that
digging for you.
yeah, no, that would have.
Yeah.
Sorry, who are you? I'm from the Department of Relationship Health, and my name is Inspector Litsua.
Yeah. But then the nice thing about it is it felt like as if they were expecting my arrival.
Yes.
Funny enough. And like I say, I didn't observe much, but then it all went well. The mother was warm. We had lunch. I was even surprised they were even like that welcoming. I thought maybe they were going to be like, who are you? What's going on? What do you want?
Yeah.
Because I insisted on going to see the parents.
Okay.
So it actually turned out to be pretty nice.
So, very interesting and different and contrasting stories, interesting in their own way. Let's have yours. 011 883 0702 072 702 1702. First visits to the home of somebody you've just started dating. How did it go? What are you looking for? What did it reveal? And maybe you might also want to reflect on people's first visits to your place. But let's do your visit first and see where we go with that. Call us on those numbers. 17 minutes past 3.
Drive home with John Perlman
On 702, let's walk the talk.
Right, speaking of driving home, let's find out what's happening in the traffic. It can get busy, even though it's early. Karabo Chale, your update.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, if you're heading towards Four Ways, that's driving through the Bryanston area. There's an accident scene on the N1 South just before the Winnie Mandela off-ramp. This is causing more than a 30-minute delay all the way from the Patlu interchange. As a result, traffic also heavily backed up. That's in Rivonia on Rivonia Road. This is between 7th Avenue and the N1, so allow for extra traveling time if you're heading towards Rivonia, Four Ways, Bryanston area. Also in the Centurion, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 southbound. This is between the N14 Brakfontein interchange and Old Joburg Road. There's also traffic lights not working still. That's in the Edenville area at Morafontein Road and Van Riebeck, as well as in Alex at Marlborough Drive and Far East Bank. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
Aubrey Masango,
weekday evenings.
8 to midnight.
The story of the 121 dockets that have now been returned to the Political Killings Task Force in KwaZulu-Natal. Why would Umongameli, Matamed, and Feroz Kachalia be wanting to block that? That's an operational matter. Why are the politicians getting involved? Is this not what General Mkwanazi was talking about? The politicians like to get involved in operational police matters. What's going on here? Mr. President, No. Something is hitting the water here.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Swing into spring with Hollywood Bet Spinner Zonke, where a sea of floral fun, epic adventures, and blooming beautiful games await. Reap red-hot riches and whimsical wins with our sparkling spring-themed slots. The season's luck is in full bloom, so dive in and grab your chance to unravel an endless supply of thrilling treasures and claim sensational rewards when you bet now. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008.
Backed by popular demand, legendary jazz icon Kenny G will be performing at the Super Bowl at Sun City on Friday, the 3rd of October. Get ready for an unforgettable night of timeless hits and pure musical magic. Get your tickets from webtickets.co.za. Brought to you by Breakout Events and 702.
PG Glass Repair, PG Glass Replace.
I'm Delane, PG Glass Technician.
Got a chip? With our advanced tools and high-tech equipment, we can repair it.
World-class repair technology only at PG Glass. Visit pg.co.za.
The Money Show.
Weekday evenings at 6.
On the next Money Show, Peter Engelbrecht, the CEO of the ShopRite Group, will take you through the retailer's financial results and the state of the retail sector. Personal finance expert, co-founder of Galileo Capital, Warren Ingram, will talk to you about the reasons why some high-income earners are often financially fragile and go broke and earn a lot of money and still not save. Also, analysis of all the top business news.
The Money Show
On 702. Let's walk the talk.
The Money Show, Stephen Curtis, is brought to you by APSA CIB, proud sponsor of the SARA Rail Conference 2025. Your story matters. APSA is a registered FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
Well, the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial continues to inch its way. I don't know if it's towards any kind of conclusion, because once again, the proceedings have had to take a detour around applications that have nothing to do, ostensible, not nothing to do, but are not part of the major deliberations in front of the court. But they have to be heard. The application for acquittal by one of the accused, Senzo Meyiwa, was before the court. He brought an application for discharge in August, saying the state had no case against him. That was ruled on today. Let's find out what the judge said in terms of a decision, but also what the arguments offered in support of that decision were. Our EWN colleague, Khumotso Modise, has been covering this story and joins us for the latest. So, Khumotso, very good afternoon to you. The accused, Senzo Meyiwa, said, hey, I didn't do anything. You can't prove I did anything. I think you've got to let me go. What was the outcome?
Well, you know, John, we heard Judge Ratamokhotleng giving a pretty lengthy judgment. It was a 2-hour judgment. I think that's pretty long for a 174 application. And he spent a lot of time going through some of the evidence that the state has led against Senzo Meyiwa. Mapisa's lawyers had tried to argue that the state does not have enough evidence for a reasonable person to convict him and find him guilty of the murder of Senzo Meyiwa. And the judge disagrees. He pointed out, and he relied a lot on testimony from the state's star witness, Constable Sizwe Zungu, who's the only witness that claims to have seen all 5 of the accused together before the commission of the crime and what he believes was just after the commission of the crime at the Basotho hostel in Forslorus. And he detailed for the court where the 5 accused were, how they allegedly rushed back into the hostel to gather and reconvene after what he believes was where they came from committing the crime. And so it was interesting to hear how Judge Ratamokhotleng really went into the details that were given by Constable Zungu, saying it's clear that Mapisa has a case to answer to here. He says for him it's not even whether there's a reasonable person would or would not find him guilty. He says there is a prima facie case for Mapisa to answer to. And so he's denied the 174 application from Senzo Meyiwa.
So in my preamble, which might have been a bit of a pre-ramble because I started saying something, Khumotso, then I thought to myself, well, maybe that's not entirely correct. I was trying to say that this stuff is to some degree a deviation from the key purpose of the court, which is to establish who killed Senzo Meyiwa. But would it be fair to say that this kind of thing can come up at any time? Maybe one of the other accused could say, well, you know, what about me? There's this, there's that. Then presumably there's a pre-argument, which the judge would then say, well, okay, I'll hear this, I'll allow it.
Yeah.
But presumably these kinds of little off-ramps are part of the road ahead, potentially, for as long as the trial goes.
Well, John, I mean, this is definitely part of the main case, and it should not be seen as a separate part. And I say that because it is, you would usually see an application of this nature once the state has completed its case. Remember, the 174 can only come once the defense knows exactly what the state claims to have on the accused. And so I did expect some of the accused to almost entertain the idea of bringing this 174 174 application. In fact, I did think that Mapisa would be one of the people to take his shot at a 174 just based on the evidence that was led by the state. So it is all part of the case itself. I think what's going to be interesting to see now is now that we've established, or now that his his bid for acquittal has been dismissed, what's his next move? And you're right that we may have seen the other accused also take a shot at a 174. In fact, there was a point where there was mention from the other accused that they would like to apply for this acquittal or make this acquittal application. I think it's interesting to hear how Legal Aid, which is funding the case, a representative from Legal Aid came to court and said they don't believe that there are prospects for success for the accused. So Legal Aid, who's essentially the attorney in this matter, the instructing attorney, they're saying that from their observation, they believe that there is a case for the 5 accused to answer to.
Fascinating stuff. It inches towards, I suppose it has to be towards a conclusion, but the Senzo Meyiwa murder trial trundles on, and you can be certain Khomotso Modise keeping a sharp and clear eye on that for us. 26 minutes past 3.
John is on X.
At John Perlman.
You can follow me there on X at John Perlman, also at Radio 702. There's plenty of good stuff. Don't forget our other social media and online presences. primemediaplus.com. You can follow us on Facebook. That's 702. And you can watch us on YouTube, by the way, if you want to not only listen to what we're doing, but check us out at the same time. We will do our level best to behave and be friendly at all times. 702 Drive, it's 26 minutes now past 3.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Right, let's focus our attention on the community of Coronationville out in the west of Johannesburg. They are facing something that is familiar but no less difficult and troubling for the fact that it's been going on for ages. The water system that is supposed to supply not only Coronationville but Westbury, Sophiatown and some other areas close by as well, has been in trouble literally for years, but it's very, very bad now. Let's find out now from the perspective of what it's like to be a resident in Coronationville. Chantal de Gama joins us on the line. Ms. de Gama, welcome and thanks for giving us your time. I'm sorry we're talking about something that's obviously so difficult, but for how long have you either had no water or an insufficient supply? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John. Inconsistent water supply. We've been having this problem ongoing for 8 years now in Coronationville, Westbury, and the surrounding areas.
That is an extraordinary length of time. I mean, how have you coped? Because I'm sure there are a lot of people listening. I don't think there's anyone in Gauteng, and certainly it's possible anyone in South Africa who hasn't had some water problems. But 8 years, I mean, how have you managed and how have your neighbors coped?
It's been extremely difficult. So we have some of our community leaders in our area that had to finance their own boreholes or either Jojo tanks, that can assist the community. The problem that we also have is that our schools, so our kids are deprived from education because there's no running water at the schools. We have 2 hospitals in our area, Rahima Musa and Helen Joseph, so you can only imagine what's happening at the hospitals because there's no water, including our old age home. We have elderly residents.
Yes.
Like a month or 2 ago, one of the residents' flat actually burned down, but there was no water. So we couldn't extinguish the fire. We called the fire department. Obviously, there was no water just to extinguish the fire. And up to date, I mean, if you should look at the elderly resident's flat, she's about 80 years old.
Right.
It's so damaged, and it's just been a struggle. It's been a struggle for us.
So,
yes, John.
So what are the council, Mr. Gama, saying? I mean, I'm reading up on it as best I can. They say there is a problem with the command system. I assume that's a larger part of the water provision infrastructure. But they're saying there isn't budget to fix it. Are they giving you a date by which things might get better? Or are they saying it's bad and it's going to stay bad?
It's bad, and we believe it is going to stay bad, because for the last few years we've been hearing the same story, the same excuses about no budget of this commando system. Every month they will send out a newsletter, communication to the community, saying that the reservoir is being fixed or maintenance is being done. And not long after that, then there's no budget again. So this has been going on for quite a while. For the past 5 years, we heard about the crack in one of the reservoirs, which was the Commando Reservoir.
Right.
And, for 5 years, there's no budget and it's not being fixed. So what do we do as residents? We've been crying out. We've been protesting. It's not the first, second, or third time that we've been protesting. So every time when the residents actually go out and protest, and suddenly there is a flow of water for the day, or maybe just for a few hours. So what they do, they also switch our water on like during the night, when normal people actually sleep. So between 12 and 3 o'clock in the morning, then the water flow will come through. So we have alarm systems, we even set our alarms for that time of the morning so we can get up and fill up, so we can actually make sure we have clean running water, filled up bottles and the baths and whatever containers we can fill up, so we can have water to cook, water to wash, water to do the washing. So it's really been a struggle, and with an area like Coronationville where the majority of the residents here is actually elderly, you can't even imagine what they've been going through.
Well, thank you for sharing a little bit of what that experience has been like. Maybe you also want to call in from Coronationville. I know other communities close by, Sophiatown, Westbury. I don't know if Noordgesig is hit as well, Bosmont. But if you're out in that western part of Joburg and you want to share with us not only your experience, because Chantal de Gama has outlined that very clearly, but also your thoughts about possible solutions, give us a call on 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. 28 minutes to 4. Right, let's focus our attention now on the latest breaking news. And Bali Dlamini, good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. We begin in KZN, where Metro Police officers are on high alert in Guatabega, that's in Clermont, following a taxi strike in that area this morning. Thousands of commuters were left stranded after the local taxi association withdrew its fleet. The drivers halted operations following the impounding of 25 minibus taxis by the Durban Metro Police last week. Officers embarked on an operation as a response to ongoing violence, allegedly by taxi operators targeting e-hailing drivers. Durban Metro Police spokesperson Boise Zungu says officers are on the ground.
Both Metro Police and SAPS are there to ensure the safety of everybody. So far, the strike is peaceful.
The KZN Transport Department spokesperson, Dabezinhle Sibia, says they are confident that the eThekwini Municipality and the Taxi Association will soon find a lasting solution to their issues.
The MEC is aware that yesterday there was a meeting involving eThekwini Metropolis as well as the Clermont and Guatabega Taxi Association. And the MEC is also aware that there are challenges that formed part of the discussion.
Let's stay with taxi-related matters. Taxi Association Cordeta has called on the Western Cape government to foster another round of peace talks to resolve a violent minibus taxi dispute in Cape Town. Yesterday, Western Cape MEC for Mobility Isaac Silegu warned he would be imposing harsher sanctions on Cordeta and Kata if they do not urgently resolve their differences. The rival taxi associations have failed to reach consensus during peace talks that took place last week, sparking a fresh bout of violence which left 5 people dead, Carlo Peterson reports.
Cordeta spokesperson Makusandile Tumana says the Western Cape Mobility Department must intervene to find a solution to the minibus taxi conflict in Cape Town. Tumana says peace talks with Kata broke down after the feuding taxi associations failed to reach consensus about a taxi route from Khayelitsha and Mfuleni to Somerset West.
This is our appeal to the government of the province. Let us try to work together to solve this matter.
Kata spokesperson Nkululeko Sityebi says Kata is open to more peace talks.
It needs us to wake up and sit together and put up some peace agreement or relook on the peace agreement, what we didn't do right or what we can make things right so it can cover everybody.
Tumana says Gaudeta is also not happy about the implementation of Golden Arrow bus services along the route. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
The Cape Flats Safety Forum is calling for Western Cape Police Commissioner Thembisile Pategile to resign. The call comes after police recovered 19 illegal firearms in Mitchell's Plain yesterday. While the forum commends the recovery of firearms, it says the police commissioner is out of touch with reality. Chairperson Abby Isaacs says there needs to be an immediate probe into gun violence in the area.
We have heard what the provincial commissioner is saying, that there has been limited gun violence over the weekend. I think the provincial commissioner have lost touch with reality of what's happening on the ground. Therefore, as the Cape Flats Safety Forum, we're starting to align ourselves with other formations that are calling for the provincial commissioner of the Western Cape to resign.
And in Afghanistan, the Taliban has called for international assistance following a magnitude 6.8 earthquake that has killed at least 800 people. The earthquake struck on Sunday, destroying entire villages across the country's eastern Kunar province, which borders Pakistan. Local authorities have warned that the number of fatalities is likely to rise once rescuers are able to reach more isolated areas. Relatively shallow earthquakes can cause severe damage in Afghanistan, especially because the majority of people live in low-lying mud brick homes which are vulnerable to collapse. It's a fine afternoon in Gauteng today. Temperatures have peaked at highs of 30 degrees.
Centurion, slow-moving traffic. This is on the N1 southbound between the N14 Brakfontein interchange and Old Joburg Road. In Bryanston, we're still dealing with that accident seen N1 south before Winnie Mandela Drive, causing heavy delays all the way from Rivonia Road. As a result, also traffic heavily backed up on Rivonia Road between the N1 and 12th Avenue.
A top story in EWN and KZN. Metro Police officers are still on high alert in Guatabega and Claremont following a taxi strike in that area this morning.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
Joburg Mayor, what an absolute joke. We set ourselves the goal of the 1st of September to reopen the road, but we're only going to open on the 12th of September because there's still work to be done. And we think we achieved the target we set for ourselves. We think, what a bunch of clowns.
These guys are straight out lying to us. Don't forget, there's a local government election coming next year, and that's why we're seeing this happening.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Ready to lead the future of business? At Wits Business School, leaders don't just adapt, they define what comes next. Choose from a wide range of postgraduate programs designed to develop your leadership and strategic thinking skills. Whether you're looking to deepen your expertise or broaden your horizons, there is a qualification for you. At Wits Business School, ambition becomes leadership. Visit wbs.ac.za to find the program that's right for you. That's wbs.ac.za.
When I say insurance, you say pineapple. Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Insurance.
Pineapple.
Pineapple FSP 48650 is underwritten by Omart Insure Limited, a licensed non-life insurer and authorized FSP.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Afternoon, Dad John and the team. So she visited me on my first time, so I'm not a neat freak, but I tidy up a bit to make the place look presentable. Then I cooked a meal. I'm happy to report right now that we're married with one child, and she always goes back to the fact that what did I pour, what spice did I use in that first meal, because she stuck around and forever this time. This is Kama from Kempton Park. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Hi, Dr. John. How are you doing?
So with regards to first time visiting, the person that I was dating, which is now my wife, was terrifying, that I can tell you. We met at Varsity at University of Pretoria. She stayed in Leondale. I stayed in Soweto. So I remember the first day getting into a taxi to go to Leondale. I kept asking myself my question, what are you doing? What are you doing? What if they don't like you? When I got there, I literally froze. I refused to go in. We eventually met outside at the shops, had a great day. But just before I left, the grandmother who raised her came out and said, that doesn't happen here. You have to come in. You can't visit someone and then end up outside. So eventually I got in. It was terrifying, but my gosh, it was one of the best days of my life because the grandmother was so sweet, and we kept laughing the whole time. And the funny part, they were Zulu speaking. I didn't speak that much Zulu, so I kept speaking broken Zulu, which sort of like, lessened the tension in the room.
Good afternoon, John. It's Pat here from Sprayview. Decriminalization of sex workers. I'm not sure if that should be allowed, because if they're allowed to do that legally, we're gonna find them we're gonna see them in the malls, shopping centers, and restaurants, waiting for pickups. I don't think it's the right way to do, because they don't fear anybody now. They don't fear police. They won't, they'll just wait anywhere for pickups or for the outlines. So it will be chaos. Believe you me. Please note this, what I've just said.
Okay, so that last voice note, and thank you for some really lovely stories, by the way, about the first visit to a home of somebody you were in the early stages of, exploring the possibilities of where those early dates might go. So those, I still want to hear more of those, but I also asked for comments on the case that's before the Western Cape High Court regarding the decriminalization of sex work. Now, one of the organizations involved, I think front and center actually, in getting this matter reviewed is an organization called SWEAT, the Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force, and one of their leadership, Megan Lessing, will be joining us after 4. So we'll take the conversation a little bit further with her, but also with you as well. Give us a call on 011 883 0702. It is 18 minutes now to 4 o'clock.
EWN Sport.
The beginning of warm weather in South Africa, the tail end of summer in the northern hemisphere, so that invariably means cricket somewhere. Protests in action in England. Anthony Teixeira joins us now with the details. How are we doing?
Yeah, that's right, John. The South Africans have been on top, at least the bowlers have been, as they've managed to knock over the English top order. Right now, England in their first ODI, 119 for 6, after being sent into bat by the South Africans. It's really been all the bowlers that have helped contribute. Keshav Maharaj is leading there with the wickets. He's taken 2 for 16. Early in the day, we did see Jamie Smith with a brilliant 54 in what looks like very trying conditions. In football, NTN 8 final will be a sold-out affair between Orlando Pirates and Stellenbosch. Tickets were snatched up within 24 hours for the capacity stadium, Mbombela Stadium, of 43,500. The first silverware of the domestic season will be lifted Saturday, September 13th. Meanwhile, the Buccaneers confirmed this morning that coach Abdeslam Wadu and 5 other staff members are recovering in hospital after being involved in a car accident. The incident happened Sunday evening as they were returning following a 3-0 Betway Premiership win over Chippa United. The Pirates team bus had stopped to assist at the scene of a collision between 2 vehicles when a third vehicle crashed into the stationary bus, and a group of people were caught up in the incident, including coach Wadu. While Premier League clubs spending surpassed £3 billion during the transfer window, deadline day was an exciting one. Man City brought in goalkeeper Gianluigi Donnarumma from PSG and sold Edison to Fenerbahce. The biggest deal of the day, however, was Alexander Isak making the switch from Newcastle to Liverpool for a British record £125 million. Here's the forward.
I think it's a mixture of what the club is building, but what they're building on top of what the club already is. And the history of the club. So I think just me getting the chance to be a part of this, and I want to create history.
And the US Open quarterfinals are upon us. The day's first session will see Jessica Pegula against Barbora Krejcikova and Carlos Alcaraz facing Yuri Laheka. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Right now it's 3:45. Let's find out what's happening out on the roads. Bryanston, bad yesterday, difficult today. Still traffic lights.
Yeah, no. This time it's accident scene. That's in the Bryanston area, N1 southbound before Winnie Mandela Drive, causing heavy delays all the way from the Batlu interchange. As a result, the traffic is also heavily backed up in Rivonia on Rivonia Road between the N1 and 12th Avenue. Also, bumper-to-bumper traffic as a result of that accident scene on Witkoppen Road. That's in the Sunning Hill area between Rivonia Road and Maxwell Drive, while in Bedford View, Alex heading towards Germiston, expect heavy delays on the N3 southbound from Modderfontein Road all the way to Van Buren. Also, Roodepoort heading towards Kagiso, bumper-to-bumper traffic. That's between Elias Mutwaledi and Corlett Avenue. And in Centurion, there's slow-moving traffic. This is on the N1 southbound between the N14 Brakfontein interchange and Old Joburg Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. It is now 14 minutes to 4. Anthony Teixeira, we've been asking people about the first time when there's been a few dates and there's interest taking shape, but the first time you go to the other person's house. What do you learn from it? How do you go about it? And you may have a view or a story about what happens the first time they come to your place.
I mean, the first time they come to my place, it's usually quite clean. I'm not going to lie. I'm the type of person who will scrub the floors the night before, at least the morning of, making sure that everything is as clean as possible. But counter to that, if I go to someone's place and it's incredibly clean, I sort of judge them because I'm thinking, you were trying to make a good impression.
What's wrong with that?
I just don't. I want you to be yourself. So if you are a little bit of maybe not a neat freak, the opposite of that, I don't know what you would call that.
Oh, or somewhere in the middle. Hey?
I sort of want to see that side of you as well, because I don't want to catch a surprise 6 or 9 months into the relationship and, oh, this is actually who you are. Because it's only so long you can keep that pretense up.
There's always going to be surprises, trust me.
That I can believe. That I can totally believe.
So it's very clear now. If it's Refuwe Letsua, this place has got to shine. But if Anthony Teixeira is the man dropping in, what would set your nerves or deal with your doubts? I mean, would it be like a couple of teacups in the sink?
I would say that if there's like at least a dirty place and a cup, then it would be like, okay, so this is who you are. You left it here. You didn't have time last night, or you didn't have time this morning, and so we can see that side of you as well.
Because they were so busy baking a cake for your arrival, except there is no cake. But anyway, all right, okay.
But then, do you scrub all the time? Are you also?
Oh no, 100%.
So then that's what.
Listen, we're all hypocrites. We're all hypocrites, and this is my hypocrisy.
Okay, well, I'll try. I've never heard anyone say, by the way, I really like him. I like his hypocrisy. I think I'm also a hypocrite. I think we could make magic. 702 Drive, please do call us. 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. I'd love to get your thoughts on the question we're asking. It's coming up for 11 minutes to 4.
702 Afternoons
with Relebogile Maboja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What advice would you give to everyone listening who is in the midst of the most difficult part of their midlife experience or a crisis? ISIS, as it's been referred to before, that is feeling stuck and does not see a way out?
I would say it's about renewal. It's this renewal of your thoughts around this. It's the point where you stop living by that default and start living by your design. And I know it's a very hard space to be in if you're really sitting in isolation as well. But in an isolation, that's your invitation, as lots of us really don't get.
Seluchani Reddy, the author of Midlife in Blossom.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Mzansi, Powerball and Powerball Plus stand at 94 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 44 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 50 million rand today. Buy your tickets now, in-store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
South Africa runs on you, the business owners. Without you, nothing moves. And that's why we built Lula, South Africa's first business-only banking suite, to give you the support you need. From faster access to funding to unlimited EFTs for a single fee and skilled relationship bankers ready to help your business grow. Visit lula.co.za and experience business class banking and funding today. Powered by Access Bank. T's and C's apply.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Let's talk about a really quite fascinating study that's been done at Wits University in the Department of Herpetology. What they did was they looked at black mambas, almost 100 of them. Now, my initial response to virtually all snakes, and I would have to say mambas in particular, is to be absolutely afraid of them and to suggest that if you encounter them, nothing good might come out of that. But what they have been looking at is the possible role of these snakes as what are known as sentinel species. I've heard another term, indicator species. I don't know if those are interchangeable, but sentinel species, because there is a way of looking at the effect of pollution on a black mamba that gives us valuable information about the presence of, for example, heavy metals and the potential toxic metal pollution outcomes of those heavy metals in big cities and industrial areas. So, who at what point said, why don't we see what we can learn about pollution by looking at black mambas? Well, let's talk to one of the co-authors of the study. Professor Graham Alexander is Professor of Herpetology at the University of the Witwatersrand. Prof, a very good afternoon to you. Why mambas? I mean, there must be other ways of evaluating the presence of arsenic, cadmium, and other potentially dangerous substances in our environment. Who thought of snakes first?
Oh, good afternoon, John. Yeah, no, a great question to ask. So there's a whole lot of background to this. So I'm sure many of your listeners would have heard of Nick Evans, who is a snake removal specialist in Durban.
We had him on the show, actually.
Yeah, well, I've sort of for several years now been mentoring him, and because he's going and collecting all these snakes in people's houses and moving them to, you know, a place where they won't be dangerous anymore to those people, I sort of said to him, well, you know, here's an opportunity for gathering lots of data. But the reason why black mambas in particular are really good bioindicators here is because they are apex predators, really. And also we know quite a lot about sort of their dietary specialization. So, yeah, so the one thing about reptiles is that they don't move very much. So, for example, if we're comparing them to birds, and we were looking at birds to measure heavy metals, well, birds fly around. So you can't really pick up a spatial pattern because you don't know where the birds are experiencing the pollution.
Okay.
So the mambas, I mean, they live in fairly small areas. They feed specifically on mammals, occasionally on birds. And so, you know, they're far up in the food web. And so they are actually, building up the levels, if they're eating lots of rats and the rats have been exposed to this pollution, that accumulates in their body.
Okay, so that gives us an idea. Now, presumably you have to keep capturing the numbers. What do you do then? Do you remove scales? Do you insert probes? I mean, what is the actual research process involved?
Okay, so, I mean, there's a bit more detail to this as well. So when Nick was catching a black mamba and it hadn't been damaged or killed by either being run over on the road or being killed by people, we just took a scale clipping, and that's what we use in the measure. But we also got several specimens that he had found dead on the road, or, people had killed because they were worried about it. And so those specimens, we compared the measures of those 4 heavy metals in the scales to the concentration in the liver and in the muscle. And it turned out that for 2 of them, for cadmium and for lead, there was a fairly tight correlation between the measures in the liver and the muscle and the measures in the scale, which means you don't need to kill the animal to get a measure.
Yes.
So, yep, I mean, if we can just pick up these scale clippings when we are moving mambas, I mean, taking a scale clipping is not much different from you just cutting your nail, so
right.
It doesn't really damage the snake. And so we can get these really good measurements without sort of harming the animals.
So let me understand this. Is this a kind of a thing that is interesting for you as scientists? And obviously the advance of scientists at various points, but not at every single application, I would think, has a wider benefit. Does this have a wider benefit, or is it, I don't want to call it a curiosity because it sounds like I'm trivializing it, but is this an intellectual pursuit, or does it have an application that people, for example, concerned about pollution would say, okay, well, this is really helpful?
Well, I think it does have an application, because what we did is we looked at the geographic pattern in the concentrations of these snakes. And what we found was that the individuals that were sort of in the natural areas in DEMOS, which is the open space system in Durban, the ones in the open spaces, the natural areas, had much lower levels of these heavy metals than, for example, ones from around the industrial parts of Durban. So this gives us an indication of, well, if the snakes are being exposed to these heavy metals, so are the people that are living in those areas.
Yeah.
So this does bring some relevance into it. But I must also just state, there have been sort of 4 or 5 studies that have been done in the United States and 1 or 2 in Australia. This is the first time heavy metals have ever been looked at in snakes in the whole of Africa. So it is breaking new ground, and because these snakes are really good monitors, because they accumulate these things, and also snakes can live a long time, so
right.
That means that they just sort of the perfect model organism for doing this sort of measure.
Are you in any way, I'm just going to use the word tagging loosely, but establishing identifiers on particular snakes to develop a timeline on the presence of these metals in individual snakes? I mean, I would have assumed that's part of the tracking, but maybe it's difficult to tag a snake.
Well, snakes can be tagged in several different ways. I mean, if you put transmitters in them, it becomes a full-time job just tracking sort of, maybe 10 or 15 snakes. And so we haven't got that going on, but we are putting pit tags into the snakes so that if if Nick goes and releases one, and then every time he goes and does a new removal, he checks to see, has this been caught before? And in those cases, we sort of measuring growth rates and things like that too. So, there's several different aspects to this collaboration and how we're working with these animals.
Thank you very much. It really is intriguing stuff. We'll keep an eye out for more on that. But if you want to read about it in more detail, Tony Carney has written an interesting piece on the Daily Maverick site. Our thanks to Professor Graham Alexander, Professor of Herpetology at the University of the Witwatersrand. Still to come on the show, we've been raising the issue of the decriminalization of sex work. Megan Lessing joins us from the organization, the Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force. They're in the Western Cape High Court arguing for the decriminalization of sex work. And then we are going to be talking about paper recycling. That's at 10 to 5. I must admit, and I've probably had this thought myself, well, all paper is recyclable and therefore all paper should be recycled. It's not quite that simple. In our Green Tip of the Week, we're going to get some insight from the Paper Manufacturers Association of South Africa. That's coming up at 10 to 5. It's 4 o'clock right here on 702 Drive. It's time for the very latest eyewitness news.
This is EWN.
One of the Meyiwa accused loses a bid to have charges against him drop, and a fire breaks out at a hostel in Alexandra. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Zamini. The application by one of the accused in the Senzo Meyiwa trial to have the charges against him dismissed has been denied by the Pretoria High Court. Mthokoziseni Mapisa brought the application for discharge last month, arguing that the state has no case against him. His lawyers had argued that the state has not led enough evidence to secure a conviction. Mapisa and 4 others were arrested in 2020 in connection with the Bafana Bafana captain's 2014 murder. Modise has more.
When lawyers from Mthokoziseni Mapisa brought their Section 174 discharge application for his acquittal, they argued that no reasonable person would find him guilty of Senzo Meyiwa's murder based on the evidence led by the state. But today, after a 2-hour-long judgment, Judge Rathamokgotleng has disagreed.
I find that there is prima facie evidence which needs an answer. There is. And I don't have to delve into those other aspects. And consequently, I cannot discharge my learned colleague of number 4.
Mokgotleng has pointed out all the state's evidence against Mapisa, including photographic and cell phone data. Now that Mapisa's bid for acquittal has failed, he must make his defense before the court, along with his 4 co-accused. Modise, Eyewitness News at the Pretoria High Court.
Let's stay in the courts. The Sex Worker Education and Advocacy Task Team has welcomed the Western Cape High Court's decision to allow 16 NGOs to be part of a case related to the decriminalization of sex work. 16 NGOs made applications to argue in the case as friends of the court for and against the decriminalization. Carlo Peterson has more.
Presiding Judge Andre Lagrange today concluded an amicus hearing after 16 NGOs applied to join Sweat's case to decriminalize sex work as friends of the court. Lagrange ruled in favor of the NGOs and decided to allow all 16 legal teams to argue in the case. Sweat spokesperson Megan Lessing says it's happy with the outcome.
We're very happy, even to those who have now been admitted as respondents in the case, because there were no respondents, opposing that everybody has the right to, have their say. So we're going forward.
Lessing says legal teams now have until the end of this month to provide evidence before the matter goes to trial in the second quarter of next year. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
Relatives of renowned broadcaster Tsidi Madia say her family is shattered by her passing. Colleagues, friends and loved ones gathered in Sandton this afternoon in memory of Madia, who died in hospital last week. At the time of her passing, she was the associate editor for politics at EWN. Bold, passionate and caring are just some of the words used to describe Tsidi Madia today, her sister Riabethu Mokoko.
Literally my best friend in life. The 27th of August will never be the same. I don't know how family gatherings are going to be like. As busy as our sister was, every time there was something happening in the family, she made sure that she was there. We are left to pick up the pieces without the biggest integral part. And I look at her and I'm like, you prepared us for everyone's death, but not yours.
At the same time, EWN reporter Alfara Mushwana says Tsidi was more than a manager to him. She was a person who cared for her team's well-being and wanted to see them flourish.
In February this year, I was supposed to be working first weekend of February, but I also had to be baptized. at church, and I said to Tidi, let me go to church. I should be done by 10:30 and I'll come to work after my baptism. And she said, no, go get baptized. If you need me to come, I'll be there. And there's no need for you to work. Take some time off on Monday and be thankful for this journey that you're starting with Christ.
The Johannesburg Emergency Management Service has contained a fire which broke out at a hostel in Alexandra Township today. EMS says no injuries were reported when the blaze gutted one floor in Madala Hostel. The cause of the blaze is still unknown. Joburg EMS spokesperson Xolile Khumalo says fire safety should be practiced at all times to avoid more incidents.
Firefighters responded to a fire incident call at Madala Hostel in Alexandra at 12 o'clock this afternoon. The blaze has been brought under control, but the fourth floor of the building has been completely destroyed.
And in Indonesia, 20 people are still missing following violent protests sparked by lavish perks for lawmakers. A rights group in the country says the protests have now widened to include anger against the police. The unrest emerged in cities across Indonesia, forcing President Prabowo Subianto into a U-turn on lawmaker perks after the worst protests since the ex-general took power last year. The group says the missing people are from the cities of Bandung and Depok on Java Island and the admin cities of Central, North and East Jakarta. Gold is trading at $3,481.80 an ounce. The rand is at 17.73 to the dollar, 23.70 to the pound, 20.63 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $68.15 a barrel.
In Rivonia, heading towards the Fourways area, you can expect about an hour delay. This is on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Sunning Hill area on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell, and in Bedfordview heading towards Germiston, expect about a 20-minute delay. N3 southbound between Modderfontein Road and Van Buren.
And in your sport, all the latest from Leeds, where the Proteas are playing England in the first ODI of their White Ball series. And Novak Djokovic looks to continue his unbeaten record against Taylor Fritz when they meet in the US Open quarterfinals.
In your weather, Johannesburg will be dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at 30. Pretoria also at 13 and 30 degrees, and Vereeniging 12 and 30. The top story in EWN this hour: the application by one of the accused in the Senzo Meyiwa trial to have charges against him dismissed has been denied by the Pretoria High Court.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
On 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive, it's 7 minutes past 4. Good to have you with us on the show. I'm John Perlman. With you, myself and the rest of the team will review traffic news. We'll give you the latest in sport, the very, very, very latest from that England-South Africa 50 over game. England all out for 131, halfway through the 25th over. So is it the pitch? Is it the bowling? Keshav Maharaj took 4 wickets. Vian Mulder took 3. Let's see what happens when we bat and England bowls. Anthony Teixeira with an update on that and all the other big sports stories at around 20 to 5. Traffic starting to get busy, difficult out in Bryanston. We'll let you know if there are any other traffic hotspots a little bit later in the show. Shortly, in fact, we'll be hearing from Karabo Chale. Stephen Curtis with all the business news, and then some really, really interesting stories that we're going to cover, not just in this hour, but in the one after that. We're going to clock in with the Madlanga Commission. You'll recall last week they said that hearings that were meant to start yesterday are going to be delayed because infrastructure requirements that had been clearly set out for the Department of Justice had not been met. A week later, and we're covering it a week later, because there were promises of quick and urgent action. Has anything been done? Any movements in the right direction? We'll hear from the Commission after 5 o'clock. Before that, we'll hear about Western Cape High Court case. You heard Carlo Peterson's report a moment ago that deals with the decriminalization of sex work. Megan Lessing joins us from the organization Sweat. That's in 3 or 4 minutes' time.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Hi. Regards the first date, when I went to pick up my date for the matric dance, it was a blind date, and I had met the girl before, and I hadn't been to a house. And the house, when I went in, it was a huge house with slate floors and a big lounge with a fireplace, and the parents were standing there waiting for my date to come down from getting changed and getting ready. And there was a big black rug in front of the fireplace, and I went across and stood on that. It was their dog, Lawrence from East Rand.
Oh dear, a big black rug, and then the rug moved and howled. Lawrence, you didn't mention being bitten, so you didn't tell us how the matric dance went. Drop me a note on that, just a quick one. Just say, out of 10, how it went. And you and the dog, you still on speaks? I'd love to know. 702 Drive, it's 10 minutes past 4. Let's get you home.
EWN Traffic.
Eyewitness News traffic with Plumlink, your local plumbing store. Visit plumlink.co.za to find your nearest store. Bryanston, still bad from what I understand. Karabo Chale, though, has the full details.
Yes, John, we had that earlier accident. It looks like it has been cleared. This is on the N1 southbound as you approach Winnie Mandela Drive, but traffic is still sluggish. This is between Rivonia Road and Winnie Mandela Drive. There's also bumper-to-bumper traffic. I assume this is due to that earlier accident in the Rivonia area. This is on Rivonia Road. Between Rivonia Road, expect about an hour delay between the N1 and North Road. And there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic in the Sunning Hill area on Vidkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell Drive. Bedford View heading towards Germiston, expect about a 20-minute delay. N3 southbound from Modderfontein Road all the way to Van Buren, while in Roodepoort there's bumper-to-bumper traffic on Randfontein Road between Elias Motswaledi and Collard Avenue. That's heading towards Kagiso Leratong area. And in Centurion, slow-moving traffic N1 south between the N14 Brakfontein interchange and Old Joburg Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app. If it's plumbing, you'll find it at Plumlink, South Africa's largest plumbing retailer. From pipes, fittings, geysers, and baths to basins, taps, tools, and accessories, we've got it all. With more than 10,000 quality products at the right price and over 150 stores nationwide, there's always a Plumlink near you, ready to help with expert advice and unbeatable value. Find your nearest branch today at plumlink.coza. Plumlink, your local plumbing store. In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
The Social Development Department says the suspension of long-serving spokesperson Lunga Oliphant is to allow an investigation against her without interference. Oliphant released a scathing statement yesterday saying she was suspended because Minister Sisi Sitolashe believes she leaked information to the Sunday Times newspaper. Her suspension follows an expose in the paper about the department's travel expenses and paying 3 million rand on hotel accommodation in New York City.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star, is back. With just one ticket, experience unforgettable music, mouth-watering food, bold fashion, and vibrant art. From Saturday 20 to Sunday 21 September, celebrate with friends and bring the family for a picnic on Sunday. This year, DSTV celebrates 30 years with international headliners, SA's hottest talent, and a feast that's as big as the vibe. It's Africa's biggest music and food festival. Get your tickets now at Ticketmaster. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star and supported by 702. More on deliciousfestival.com.
Ready, jet, go! 2 fully paid trips to the Abu Dhabi Motor Racing Spectacular must be won in the thrilling new JetX competition exclusive to Hollywood Bets. An unforgettable experience awaits on one of the fastest circuits on the planet, with the world's top drivers battling for supremacy. To stand a chance to win, bet 10 Rand or more on JetX. 1 million Rand in cash is also up for grabs. Hollywood Bets. Fly higher with our multiplier. T's and C's apply. Hollywood Sportsbook is a licensed betting operator. No persons under the age of 18 years are permitted to gamble. Winners know when to stop. South African Responsible Gambling Foundation toll-free counseling line 0800 006 008 or WhatsApp help to 076 675 0710.
Every day, most of us spend an hour in the food aisle, stressing about what to make for dinner. That's 29,200 hours of your life spent shopping and deliberating over what's for dinner. Why not trade that internal drama for watching a little on-screen drama? Or whatever else you want to do. And let You Cook handle dinner. Delivered, prepped, and ready to cook. So, choose You Cook and take back some me time. Visit youcook.co.za to find out how.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
4:15 on 702 Drive. Let's go down to the Western Cape, specifically the Western Cape High Court, where Judge Andre Lagrange is hearing a matter that has been litigation that has been initiated by an organization called the Sex Workers Education and Advocacy Task Force, better known as SWET. The court challenge is aimed at decriminalizing sex work in South Africa. There are a large number of other organizations who've also joined the application or want to oppose it, and some are coming in as amicus curiae, friends of the court, to give expert opinion. So some of the proceedings so far have been spent just trying to streamline all of this. Otherwise, court time is going to be at an absolute premium. But let's spend our time getting into the issues that the court is going to hear about. And to do this, we're joined now by Megan Lessing, who's media and advocacy coordinator of the organization SWET. Ms. Lessing, welcome and thanks for your time on 702 Drive.
Thank you for having me.
I can see how decriminalization would benefit sex workers and their clients. A number of our listeners, though, are asking questions about how this might be something which acts to the detriment of a wider community who are not involved in this in any way, shape, or form, given that a significant part of the sex worker trade takes place in public spaces. What's your response to that? I mean, do you accept that this would have a narrow or a very specific benefit? Let me not call it narrow, a specific benefit, but may have wider consequences that some people may not see as positive?
I suppose people would see, there's a general, or at least from my perspective, there's a understanding that people don't talk about or consider sex work in their, everyday lives, and that it would be easy to assume or to fear of, things that you don't know, that the decriminalization of sex work could have a negative impact on their lives. This process, in terms of the court process that is happening now for those coming out as amici, both in support and opposing the case, are people in organizations. SWET is the Sex Worker Rights Organization. We advocate for sex workers' rights. But the other organizations here have had the opportunity to bring their evidence, varied organizations, not organizations focused on sex worker rights only. And this is what makes this process, as rich as it is, because this is about evidence, It's not about suppositions or fears or imagining. It's about what has happened. The evidence is about best practices, looking at other countries where sex work has been decriminalized, like New Zealand, states in Australia, in Belgium, and to say that there's been no research or evidence found that it in any way negatively impacts, the everyday lives of people who choose not to do sex work.
So let's go back a step and let me ask you this. I would think that people who live in areas where sex work is conducted in public spaces, on the street, perhaps in an area around a park or whatever, our listeners have expressed a fear that if it's decriminalized, this presence of the sex work trade could become much more widespread as a part of life in other parts of a city or a town. I mean, what are you saying? There's no evidence that with decriminalization you get geographical spread?
So obviously, decriminalization, yes, there is, and also, sex work is already happening.
Yes.
So from the first part of the statement is that decriminalization would either increase it or exponentially expose people in a way, and I really cannot see the correlation to that. But in terms of, I think also what you're saying, listeners are referring to is perhaps solicitation.
Yes.
When you say that sex work is happening in public spaces, it's probably what you are referring to is solicitation.
Okay, help me with the distinction, because perhaps I'm not aware of it.
So, in terms of how sex work is currently policed in this country, is
Yes.
that it's commonly policed through bylaws, solicitation, public indecency, those kind of laws, that is unique maybe to certain municipalities and wards and districts. The problem, and this is probably the biggest why we are advocating for decriminalization, is because those laws are very, very vague.
Yes.
And easily, interpreted, in which way to what. And what sex workers are saying is that those laws, and specifically solicitation is part of this case, is that because it's so vague, it is often where the abuse of powers happen. Before we even launched this case, there was a DTRM bill in process that is asking for a regulatory framework in terms of how the sex industry is supposed to be regulated.
But can I come in and ask you this, Ms. Lessing? I mean, when you have vagueness in a law, and I absolutely get your point with vagueness, you might get discrimination and abuse even by law enforcement authorities. But the solution isn't necessarily decriminalization. Surely, I mean, another solution would be to make the law much more specific and arguably tighter.
I'm not understanding.
So you're saying the problem is the bylaws are vague as to what is or isn't allowed, and I'm questioning whether the logical conclusion to draw from that then is that you should then have decriminalization, because you could argue, well, a thing would be to make the law much clearer and possibly more tight.
Well, I suppose, I don't know what people are advocating for. If that is your position, that is your position. From a SWIC perspective, with advocacy and research of 30 years, we're saying that the sex work industry is not going anywhere. It's not going to vanish simply because it is criminalized. Mm-hmm. What we're saying is that those years of research and lived experiences, and also because SWIC is a sex worker-led organization, the decriminalization, according to us, and the 13 other human rights organizations, both globally and here, agrees that decriminalization is the better option. Because sex workers are not others. They are people who live, work, and earn in the communities that they exist in, So that is an option that the government has. And we keep forgetting that based on the government's own research, its own policies, they've already decided to decriminalize sex work. I think at this point it's a moot point. What we're asking now is how will that decriminalization look? What will it look like?
Let's step back then from the issue involved in the court. What is your organization's view on, given the point you make, and I'm sure there are many people who would agree with you that this sex work is not going to disappear, irrespective of what the lawmakers and the people who enforce those laws, vague or clear as they might be, do. This is with us. But how would you secure a coexistence between people who feel that their neighborhoods and their lives might be compromised by what would appear to be a more lenient regime under which sex workers operate? Because you would surely agree that those people have rights as well, who may not want sex workers on the streets of their community.
So I understand where you are coming from. And again, our position is that currently sex work workers are operating however they are operating, mostly underground because it is criminalized. And what we are saying is, and I will refer you back to, I suppose, whatever happens with this court case, still the sex work industry has to be under a regulatory framework.
Right.
And what sex workers are asking is, when that bill comes to fruition, whatever the court case would be, it would have to go back to the Department of Justice, because this is where it currently resides in. That regulatory framework addresses exactly what you are raising now. It's not a free for all. It is not, the things. But what we are saying is that South Africa is operating under a constitution which is lauded all over the world in terms of its laws and its protections. And what sex workers are asking us, bring us under that protection. So there is.
Sorry, do finish your point.
Yeah, so it is not about us ending. If people have fears around safety and security and whatever they might have, they have to point to the law and say, where in this law does it give, this fear? Often when people don't know how things would, operate, and there's a fear of.
Yes.
I have not seen anything that there is something that would, like I said, there's nothing that says that there will be a proliferation of sex work anyway. It's a choice. It's also work, and it's a livelihood. If you don't want to be a sex worker, you're not a sex worker. There's nothing that would make it easier for people to do, because people are already sex workers in an extremely difficult context.
Yeah. So bearing everything you've said in mind, I mean, my question would still be this, Ms. Lessing. I mean, if there were to be a regulatory framework, would Sweat and perhaps organizations allied with you in this fight, would you support some kind of geographical regulation of sex work? I mean, for example, you're not supposed to have a bottle store near a school. You're not supposed to have a bar in certain areas and so on. We already do that with other areas of commerce. If you're saying bring us into a regulatory framework, would you accept that could and in fact should be one of the outcomes and consequences?
I think that can only work when we refer specifically to brothels and brothel keeping. That would be, to me, a fair. But in terms of South Africa and regulating where free people can move and walk around as a person, on person, that would not be a fair assertion to me. And what is currently happening now, and I'll refer you back to the bylaws, is it is exactly what happened. There is no way where sex work is currently happening where people are clear. There's no way to be. What happens, and I mean this happens in real life, is that people are known to be sex workers in their communities. And what happens is you get targeted because you are a sex worker, not because you are selling sex. There's no way to know that someone is soliciting. It's simply because you are known. And this is what we are addressing. I don't see how it happens in public spaces. I don't understand it.
Megan Lessing, thank you, Media and Advocacy Coordinator at the organisation Sweat. The matter is before the courts, and of course, the matter is there for your views. 072 702 1702 and 011 883 0702. It's 27 minutes past 4.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja, 1 to 3 p.m.
What advice would you give to everyone listening who is in the midst of the most difficult part of their midlife experience, or a crisis as it's been referred to before, that is feeling stuck and does not see a way out?
I would say it's about renewal. It's this renewal of your thoughts around this. It's the point where you stop living by that default and start living by your design. And I know it's a very hard space to be in if you're really sitting in isolation as well. But in an isolation, that's your invitation, as lots of us really don't get.
Seluchani Reddy, the author of Midlife in Blossom.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabotja.
Let's walk the talk.
If you're still struggling to find funding for your business, you probably haven't found Lula, South Africa's first business-only banking suite. With Lula, you can get up to 5 million rand in funding for your business. They won't waste your time with red tape. A simple online application is all it takes to get funded in as little as 24 hours. Experience business-class banking and funding today at lula.co.za.
To walk the talk is to turn words into meaningful actions.
And it's what we at 702 are committed to doing every day. We are also committed to following the rules set out by the Broadcasting Complaints Commission's Code of Conduct to give you balanced programming, fair comments, and accurate news. But if we stumble along the way and you feel we are not living up to the code, let us know on comments@702.co.za. And if after that you're still not happy, you can direct your complaint in writing to the Broadcasting Complaints Commission. Email bccsa@nabsa.co.za. For more, visit bccsa.co.za.
EWN Business.
Stephen Curtis, a very good afternoon to you. Not such a good day from what I gather.
No, good afternoon to you, John. I mean, we've got a much stronger gold price pushing up against $3,500. We've got some good corporate news out today, but really a bit of a sell-off in consumer shares, I suppose, would be the best way to describe it. So the JSE All Share down 0.99% at 100,893 points. Financials down 1.39. Industrials down 1.35. And only resources actually in the green there, up 0.35% on the day. So Truworths, for example, are down nearly 5%. Bidvest down 4.27%. They were down on the day yesterday. The results yesterday weren't too bad, but we've spoken about this before. Sentiment is so fragile. Any bad news and you really do get punished. Advitech down 3.89. Even Investec and Momentum both down around 3.5% on the day. ShopRite are up 5.2%. And that story, John, it just gets stronger and stronger. So the Checkers 60/60 service did 19 billion rands worth of business.
With a B.
With a B. It's the same size. That's roughly just the guys on motorbikes. They do as much business as Pick and Pay or Spar. I mean, it's amazing. They grew by 48%. Now, this is not 2022 when you would expect them to grow. This is 2025, and they still grew by 48%. It is astonishing. We'll speak to the CEO, Peter Engelbrecht, on the Money Show tonight. Gold shares up as you would expect. Anglo Gold up 1.43. Goldfields up 1%. Italtal up 1.39%. The Motors Group, they're down 0.5%. They did say today that their revenue was down 1%. Their headline earnings per share were up by 5%. We'll speak to their CEO too, and our preference for cheaper cars at the moment having a bit of an impact on them. And then Barlow World, maybe a sort of step closer to that deal that they're doing. A Russian unit was suspected of violating American sanctions against Moscow. They've had a big investigation. They had an independent forensic firm, was guided by US lawyers. They say that actually they didn't find any wrongdoing there. So it looks like they've sort of escaped that. In the US, they had a long weekend. It was Labor Day, don't forget. And on Friday night was that ruling from an appeal court there saying that many of Trump's tariffs were illegal. Did give the US federal government space to go and appeal, so they're in force for the moment, but that uncertainty weighing a bit on markets. The Dow Jones is down 0.65, the Nasdaq's up down 1%, the S&P 500 is down 0.87. And then the gold price at the moment is $3,495.83, was past $3,500 earlier. Platinum $1,389.17, Brent crude $68.40, the rand to the dollar 17.67, to the euro 20.62, to the British pound 23.69. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks very much, Stephen. It's coming up now for 28 minutes to 5. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news with Mbali Dlamini. Good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. The African Transformation Movement has welcomed the double life sentence handed down to Pete Simial for the rape and murder of 6-year-old Amantle Samane. Yesterday, the Johannesburg High Court delivered the ruling, with Judge William Karam noting the brutality of the crime. The party says the judgment is a powerful message in the fight against violence towards women and children. The party also highlighted that more than 106,000 child rape cases have been reported in the last 6 financial years, with low arrest and conviction rates showing systemic failures in justice. Spokesperson Zaman Jona.
The ATM urges all South Africans to reflect on the lessons from this tragic incident and to take decisive action against the violence that plagues our nation. We must advocate for a comprehensive child safety strategy, building partnerships with NGOs, and develop an intersectoral plan to promote the safety of South Africa's children.
Let's stay with crime-related matters. The city of Cape Town is again calling on the national government to give it more policing powers. The call comes after the city received 41 calls to report physical assault and 98 cases involving a weapon this past weekend. The calls came through the city's emergency communication portal. The centre also recorded a 50% increase in domestic violence cases. MMC for Safety and Security, JP Smith.
The city is doing as much as it can with limited powers, and we need national government to come to the party so we can stop the flood of guns being used to terrorize our neighborhoods. The city is ready and able to do more, but we need the increased powers we've been calling for. At present, our role is effectively reduced to being firefighters in blue uniforms, rushing in after the fact to contain flare-ups of violence and chaos.
To this now, colleagues, friends and loved ones have celebrated the life of renowned broadcaster Tsidi Madia. They have used a memorial service held in her honour today to remember the impact Tsidi had on the South African media landscape. The associate editor for politics at Eyewitness News died in hospital last week following a short illness. She was known for her fierce style of journalism, her patriotism as well as warmth. EWN's editor-in-chief Nisa Ali has described Madia as fearless.
As a leader, she was fearless on every level, and she was respected for that. I would smile when she sent an email in pink font, but in recent weeks, Tsidi was motivating her pitches using words like strategic objectives. It was half taking the mickey and half stepping into her ever-evolving power.
Ali says she was always in awe of Tsidi Madia.
As if a news job, being on air hosting shows wasn't enough. Tsidi recently went back to studying. Driven by her motivation to be better, it added yet another element to her life. I would often tell her in recent months that I was in awe of her and that future Tsidi would be so proud of all she had achieved.
And in Sudan, the United Nations says more than 370 people have been killed in the Mara Mountains in the west of the country. But the body says it's hard at this stage to assess the scale of the incident or the exact death toll, as the area is still very hard to reach. The Sudanese Liberation Movement, in control of the affected area, had earlier said that at least 1,000 people had died. Days of heavy rain triggered a landslide in that region on Sunday. In your weather, lows of between 12 and 13 degrees in Gauteng and highs of 30 degrees across the province.
In Rivonia, expect about an hour delay on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. That's due to an earlier accident on the N1 southbound. Also in Sunning Hill, traffic pressure on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell Drive. And in Edenvale, heading towards Bedfordview, traffic heavily backed up on the R24 westbound from Edenvale Road to the Gillies interchange.
The top story in EWN this afternoon, the African Transformation Movement has welcomed the life sentence handed down to Senzo Meyiwa for the rape and murder of 6-year-old Amantle Samane.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The story of the 121 dockets that have now been returned to the Political Killings Task Force in KwaZulu-Natal. Why would Umongameli, Matame, and Feroz Kachalia be wanting to block that? That's an operational matter. Why are the politicians getting involved? Is this not what General Mkwanazi was talking about? The politicians like to get involved in operational police matters. What's going on here? Mr. President, No. Something is hitting the water.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
It's time to be part of the change. GovTech 2025 is happening on the 8th to the 10th of September at the Durban ICC. Experience cutting-edge innovation, inspiring speakers, and powerful collaborations shaping the future of digital government. From policy to AI, cybersecurity, data, cloud, and connectivity, this is the platform for transformation. Don't miss South Africa's flagship digital government conference, where innovation meets impact. Register now at govtech.gov.za and be part of shaping the future.
Business Outsurance are experts in business insurance for pharmacies, convenience stores, beauty salons, and more. Corney?
Business insurance is definitely the best insurance for my business. Bowled out every other insurance house. Honestly, looking at what you need, my installment came down within a day. Definitely the most professional.
Switch to Business Outsurance and you could get a massive 20% discount on your business insurance premium. Visit outsurance.co.za. Switch and save today. Licensed insurer and FSP. TCs and information online.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Good day, 702 family. I mean, the decriminalization of sex work, or sex workers. Why is it even a criminal offense? I don't get it. You know, these are our friends. We need them. We need them. Jay here from Bramley.
Good afternoon, Uncle George. Great show as always. I'm listening to a conversation with a lady regarding a legalization of a sex work. She's not answering your question. We can see legislation, we can see frameworks and stuff, but the morality part of it, how's that going to ensure that that is covered in the framework?
How's it? Just a quick question regarding the sex workers. How is it going to work with advertisement? Are they going to be eligible to advertise half-naked ladies all over the area? Are they going to do it on television? Are they going to get limited to advertisement? What's going to happen there? Are we going to drive, if you've got a brothel in your area, I'm not saying in your area, but close to your area, is all the lampposts going to get plastered with half-naked ladies all over the place? How is that going to work?
Yeah, I don't think the matter before the court deals with that. There's a larger process and a wider one where government is looking at all aspects of sex work. I mean, certainly online, I think there appear to be no limitations on the advertising of that service by the people who are offering it, except, for example, people who are the owners of websites may say, well, you can't advertise here. So, you know, I think there are going to be those guidelines. Facebook, for example, may say, okay, yeah, you're free to do what you like, but you can't do it here. I don't think the court is looking at, for example, what's going to happen on lampposts in neighborhoods. The matter before the court is really quite specific. Decriminalization. Should this continue to be a criminal offense, or is, as I think the proponents are arguing, this is actually counterproductive, doesn't change anything, and it actually affects the rights of both sex workers and people who use their services. That's my understanding. But much more to find out as the case unfolds. 18 minutes to 5.
EWN Sport.
Anthony Teixeira, good afternoon to you. First ODI between South Africa and England. Not going well if you're English, pretty good if you're not.
Yeah, that's very right, John. England collapsed to 131 all out by the Proteas in that first ODI. The English second lowest score at home ever to the South Africans, while Keshav Maharaj led with 4 for 22. Rian Mulder chipped in with 3 for 33, and Nanda Berger and Lungingiri took a wicket apiece. We've also had confirmation that Tony Dzozi will bat if required. He sustained a left hamstring injury while fielding. South Africans have gotten their starts, with them 14 for the loss of none after 2 overs. Aidan Markram scoring all the runs, and Ryan Rinkleton yet to get off the mark. Meanwhile, Australian quick Mitchell Starc has announced his retirement from T20 internationals in order to focus on ODI and Test cricket. He's the second highest Aussie wicket taker with 79 wickets, as well as being a 2021 World Cup winner. Baggy Greens captain Pat Cummins, meanwhile, has been ruled out for the limited over series against New Zealand and India as he continues to experience lower back pain. However, he is expected to be fit for the Ashes. The 5-test Ashes will start November 21st in Perth, Western Australia. In tennis, the last 8 will be on courts at the US Open, with the quarterfinals beginning later today. Novak Djokovic and Taylor Fritz will be meeting for the 11th time in their careers, with the Serbian having won all previous 10 occasions. The 24-time Grand Slam winner says there's always an expectation to maintain that unbeaten record.
Pressure is always there, but
maybe a little bit less because you have more confidence coming into the matchup that you know that you never lost. So you like matching up with the guys that you never lost against. But at the same time, there's always anticipation for those matches.
And Grimsby Town have been handed a £20,000 fine for fielding an ineligible player in last week's win over Man United in the League Cup. The League Two side substituted Clark Oda, but then later realised his transfer registration was 2 minutes after the deadline. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
16 minutes to 5. This Eyewitness News Traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. Bryanston was our focus earlier. Rivonia is causing ructions right now.
Yes, John, there's about an hour delay. That's in the Rivonia area. This is on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. I guess that's a motorist trying to avoid that earlier accident on the N1 southbound. So they're using that as an alternative. Some good news is that accident scene has been cleared and traffic is now starting to flow. However, there's also delays in the Sunning Hill area. This is on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell. 4-ways traffic gridlocked. Winnie Mandela Drive between Witkoppen and the N1. If you are leaving Sandton heading towards Alex, traffic is sluggish on Grayston Drive between Rivonia Road and the N1, while in Edenvale traffic remains heavily backed up heading towards Bedford View. R24 westbound between Edenvale Road and the Ginulis interchange, Rudeboort. We still have bumper-to-bumper traffic on Randfontein Road between Elias Motswaledi and Corlett Avenue. And finally in Centurion, there's slow-moving traffic on the N1 southbound. This is between 14th Avenue and Old Joburg Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
The Outsurance pointsmen know that every car on the road carries a story. Like a man wearing his finest suit on his way to an interview. He's prepped 100 times, but he still has butterflies. The Outsurance pointsmen know it's not just a car in traffic. It's a potential lucky break that could change someone's life. Every story's different and every story matters. That's why the Outsurance pointsmen have been doing what they do since 2005 in proud partnership with 702. Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive. Now, I've been thinking about this quite a bit, and I want to get Anthony and Karabo's views first, and then yours, of course, immediately after that. South Africa really causes a lot of stress, anxiety. It's a tough place to live. I mean, there are other difficult places around the world. I want to know what your approach is. Do you try to control as much as you can, or have you tried to come up with some way of saying, okay, I'm going to flow? Just flow and take it in stride, deal with things. Yep, from time to time, taxis are going to block the road from time to time. The lights are not going to work. There are going to be days when we don't have water. Or are you one of those guys that says, okay, the taxis are worse at this time. I'm going to leave early. And then you say, well, we've had problems with water. I'm going to save up for it. You get the difference. Which works best for you? Anthony, which guy are you?
I would say I'm sort of a mix of the both, to be honest with you. When I'm on the roads, I can only control myself, so I have to go with the flow.
Yes.
If somebody's going to cut me off, they're going to cut me off. If somebody's going to drive slow, that's just the way it's going to be. So I can't really do anything. But the things that I can control, you better believe I have plans. In terms of the water, for example, I have about 25 litre waters that I have filled over the last year or so, because from time to time you'll just wake up and there'll be no water at all. And then how do you wash your face? How do you do anything in the house? So I have that's just waiting in the back room if I need to go collect. And the other thing I do at night, and I know this is going to sound totally weird, but I put a ladder behind the back door just in case somebody ever breaks in. The ladder's going to make a noise and I'm going to wake up because I'm a very deep sleeper. And it makes total sense in my mind, and I'm not going to question it. I'm just going to go with it.
So the ladder is on the inside of the back door.
100%.
Somebody breaks open the back door and the ladder, is it an aluminium ladder or what?
Yeah. It's going to make a racket.
There's a clatter.
Yes. And I have tested it. Okay. It's not like I was like, oh, this is a good idea. No, I have, forcefully opened the door and it's fallen, and it makes, it's a quite a big sound.
So how about you, Karabo? Control, flow, mix?
Geesh, there's a lot to handle in South Africa, and every day you get this political saga, you get problems, and it's just difficult to handle. Sometimes you just have to let it go and just let the system work itself, because really sometimes there's nothing you can do about it. You know, it's beyond your control. So we just hope for the best, honestly.
So are there any things, though, like Anthony with the water, or some aspect of your security where you say, okay, this is where, as he put it, you better believe it, I'm taking control here?
I don't really have a lot of contingency plan. I mean, like, sure, you put a ladder on your door, but then the robbers are going to come through the window.
Yeah, but we got burglar bars on the window, you see? Thinking ahead. Thinking ahead.
Thinking ahead. For a minute, I thought you put the ladder outside, and I didn't get that.
No.
But I get it now. I absolutely do get it now. So give us a call and tell us. I mean, I'm trying to be a little bit more flow, to be honest. Not on crucial things like water and electricity, because, you know, I've spent time and money trying to protect myself against that. Definitely on the roads, in traffic and so on, just flow. I'm trying to identify what is the small stuff or the smaller stuff, because I don't think any of it is small. But I'd love to get your thoughts. Flow, control, 011 883 0702 and 072 702 1702. It's 10 to 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Right, it's time for this. The Green Tip of the Week. It's brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo. Every week we'll highlight someone or something impacting the way we can be greener, cleaner, smarter, healthier, and eco-friendly. Remember when you had to wait for dial-up to connect? Technology moves on, so why are people still driving cars like it's 1999? Volvo's plug-in hybrids are the upgrade you've been waiting for. You don't need diesel power, you just need a second electric motor. Just like you updated from dial-up to fiber, you can upgrade your drive with electric for the city and fuel for the open road. Don't be the last one to catch up. You're late for your test drive. It's safe to be brave with Volvo. So let's get into our Green Tip of the Week then. Today we're focusing on the recycling of paper. Now, one of the questions on my mind is what paper should be recycled. I had someone tell me, no, paper napkins don't bother, but there's much more to the issue than that. South Africa doesn't do too badly on recycling. More than 13 million tons of paper and paper packaging recovered for recycling over the past decade. That number's probably gone up because the story I'm looking at is from March. But in any case, the recycling is moving ahead, but we could get smarter about it, more focused, and indeed better. Samantha Choles is Communications Manager at the Paper Manufacturers Association of South Africa and joins us now. Ms. Choles, welcome and thanks very much for your time. Anything made of paper, is it recyclable or are there guidelines and limits? Good afternoon to you.
Afternoon, John. Unfortunately not. There are some kinds of paper that we shouldn't be putting in our recycling bin, and you quite rightly said things like tissue and napkins, toilet paper, and largely because they disintegrate and they actually made to disintegrate. So that's one of the things we shouldn't be putting into our bins. Things like, I often sort of recommend a tear test for if you've got a sort of piece of cardboard, some cardboard packaging, and you try and tear it, and if there's sort of a very tight plastic film on that cardboard, then you should be putting it in your bin, unfortunately, because it's the sort of paper recycling technology at the paper mills can't necessarily handle that plastic, because basically it gets liquidized, if I could put it that way, and then remade into paper. So that plastic interferes with the paper recycling process.
Does the paper need to be clean, or is that not an issue? If we're getting our paper right in the list, office copy paper, cereal boxes, pizza boxes, other boxes, I would assume, but not those unterrible boxes that you've just drawn our attention to. But does it have to be clean?
In the case of pizza boxes, often people ask that. I mean, often we'll have a bit of grease left over on the pizza box, but that's fine. As long as there's not too much sort of food debris like sauce and burger sauce. If you can, wipe it off and put it into your recycling bin. One of the things is that paper is a natural product, and it's when it gets wet, it starts to basically break down. So when it comes into contact with moisture or water, then it will start to break down, and eventually that basically makes it non-recyclable. Not non-recyclable, but it just affects. It basically becomes a waste product in the paper recycling process. But there's so many. Sorry, John.
No. Carry on and finish the thought. I'll come in.
So things like milk and juice cartons, your milk cartons, your juice cartons, those are recyclable. So if you had to tear them, you'd also find it difficult. But there is new technology in some paper mills that are able to recycle the milk and juice carton, and they use a very special hydropulper, which again liquidizes it, and the paper goes one way and the plastic and foil goes another, and the plastic and foil gets separated as well into, or even used in certain products. There's a company on the East Rand making all sorts of things with this polyalu sort of plastic and aluminium board. So those are recyclable. Your cores from toilet rolls, the kitchen towels, and I often say to people, keep recycling bins in other places in your house, not just in your kitchen, maybe next to your desk or in your bathroom. So when you do finish your toothpaste box, or you open a new packaging, or even throw away the toilet roll core, then it's in the recycling bin. So that always, one of the simplest systems we can have is just have a separation at source, and that is making sure we keep it separate from our wet waste. And when you put your recycling out for your collectors. Yes. We see them rummaging through bins and hauling out all manner of things. Have a box or bag where you can keep it separate, so that they don't have to dig through your bin, and the stinking filth that often is in our refuse bins. And then it's also, if it's clean, it's cleaner for them. They get more money when it is a cleaner product.
So just finally, and maybe an opportunity for you to, encourage people to actually contribute to the recycling of paper. Why does this matter? Obviously, there's a revenue stream there for the waste collectors. There's not necessarily a job, but at least a source of income for people who are battling to find more stable work. But in terms of environmental benefits, what are the benefits of us recycling paper?
So it keeps the paper away from landfill. We are facing a landfill crisis where our landfills are filling up. And, those 13 million tons that you mentioned, and that is still correct because it is based on last year's figures included, that saved about 40 million cubic meters of landfill space, which, if you have to think about it in terms of rugby fields, just over 1,700 rugby fields. And the other thing, because paper degrades, it releases carbon and other, when it's mixed with wet waste, so there's methane emissions. I mean, that's not just because of the paper. Yes. So if we can keep our landfills controlled, then we are saving our landfills. And recycled fiber is another raw material in the paper recycling process. We will always use virgin fiber, and that's an important element because recycled paper can only be recycled so many times. And, paper's renewable. So even the wood fiber that we're using in the paper process is a renewable resource because we are replanting the trees.
Thank you so much, Samantha Choles, Communications Manager at the Paper Manufacturers Association of South Africa. This Green Tip of the Week was brought to you by Volvo. It's safe to be brave with Volvo. Tune in again next week on Tuesday for another Green Tip of the Week.
The Midday Report.
Weekdays
12 to 1.
On the Midday Report, every day from 12 to 1 p.m, we will bring you breaking news from the scene as it unfolds with newsmakers, reporters, commentators, experts and analysts. We'll explain the stories of the day, give you context for why they are important and what they mean for you. It is everything you need to know in 1 hour, from news to global events, business, sports, science, books, and always some good news too. Appointment listening every day at 12 with the Midday Report.
The Midday Report
with Mandy Wiener.
12 to 1 on 702.
702.
Mzansi Powerball and Powerball Plus stand at 94 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Today, don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 44 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 50 million rand today. Buy your tickets now in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusher Play. Players must be 18 years or older, so play responsibly. Ituba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
One festival, endless flavor, and 2 unforgettable days of timeless music. The DSTV Delicious International Food and Music Festival, powered by Lotto Star, returns on 20 and 21 September at Kyalami Grand Prix Circuit. On Saturday, the stage erupts with Don Toliver, Questa, and Nkabi Zezwe. Then on Sunday, experience the legendary Lauryn Hill, Wyclef Jean, Lyra, and more. The DSTV Delicious Festival, powered by Lotto Star. Tickets at Ticketmaster.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Still to come on 702 Drive in the last part of the show, some music, which we always enjoy playing for you. We attach a theme and a question, and we get some of your requests and suggestions as well. Before that, we'll talk to Jeremy Michaels, who speaks on behalf of the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. A week ago, they announced that they would have to delay the first round of hearings in person, oral evidence, and so on. Alarming that they had to do that. But a week on, because the clock is ticking, there's pressure on this one. Certain things should have been done. Certain things should have been done because they were promised second time around by the Ministry of Justice and Constitutional Development. So where do we stand? We'll find out at about 10 minutes past 5. It's 5 o'clock.
This is EWN.
Political killings dockets now diverted to the Madlanga Commission, and a fire at an Alex hostel has been contained. Good afternoon, I'm Bali Dlamini. 121 dockets that were previously held by the KZN Political Killings Task Team will now be handed over to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. The dockets formed a central part of a series of explosive allegations made public in July by KZN Police Commissioner Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. This after they were confiscated and handed over to a team in Pretoria. Last week, National Police Commissioner Fani Masemola announced that the dockets would be returned to the KZN Political Killings Task Team, but that's since changed following a meeting between Masemola and Acting Police Minister Feroz Kachalia. Police Ministry spokesperson Kamogelo Mogotsi.
The Political Killings Task Team dockets will be submitted to the Commission in the format that they require. This is to ensure the integrity of the dockets and enable the Commission to thoroughly investigate all the matters related to its terms of reference.
The judge in the Senzo Meyiwa trial has relied heavily on testimony by the state's key witness in his decision to dismiss the acquittal application by one of the accused. Today, the court ruled that Mthokoziseni Mapisa has a case to answer to. Mapisa had brought a discharge application arguing that the state had not led enough evidence against him to secure a conviction. Mapisa is one of 5 men who are being tried for Meyiwa's 2014 murder in what the state believes was a contract killing by his girlfriend, singer Kelly Khumalo. Khomotso Modise reports.
Constable Sizwe Zungu's testimony was pivotal in the state's case, as he claimed to have seen the 5 accused at the Basotho hostel hours before Senzo Meyiwa was killed, and then again with guns moments after Meyiwa's murder. While making his case for acquittal, Mthokoziseni Mapisa's lawyer argued that Zungu was not a reliable witness, arguing that his evidence should be dismissed. But today, Judge Ratamo Kgwatleng differed with this argument.
In my view, that is material evidence, critical evidence, because it relates to living human beings, live human beings. Zungu says he was together with accused 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
While handing down his judgment, Mokgwatleng said he cannot grant Mapisa acquittal because there is evidence that he must answer to. The matter has been postponed to the 22nd of this month for the defense to open its case. Khomzo Modise, Eyewitness News, Pretoria.
The Johannesburg Emergency Management Service has contained a fire which broke out at a hostel in Alexandra Township today. EMS says no injuries were reported when the blaze gutted one floor at the Madlala hostel. The cause of the blaze is still unknown. Joburg EMS spokesperson Xolile Khumalo says fire safety should be practiced at all times to avoid such incidents.
Firefighters responded to a fire incident call at Madlala Hostel in Alexandra at 12 o'clock this afternoon. The blaze has been brought under control, but the fourth floor of the building has been completely destroyed.
Relatives of renowned broadcaster Tsidi Madia say her family is shattered by her passing. Colleagues, friends and loved ones gathered in Sandton today in memory of Madia, who died in hospital last week. At the time of her passing, she was the associate editor for politics at Eyewitness News. Bold, passionate and caring are just some of the words used today to describe Tsidi Madia, her sister Riabeju Mokoko.
Literally my best friend in life. The 27th of August will never be the same. I don't know how family gatherings are going to be like. As busy as our sister was, every time there was something happening in the family, she made sure that she was there. We are left to pick up the pieces without the biggest integral part. And I look at her and I'm like, you prepared us for everyone's death, but not yours.
At the same time, Madia's friend and colleague Clement Manyatela says Tsidi had a great love for her country.
Some of you called her South Africa's head girl because she did represent and defend this country, both here and abroad. In fact, I remember when we were in Washington, D.C., when Trump dimmed the lights and was talking nonstop, I remember Tsidi was shouting, "When are you giving our president the chance to respond?" We were shouting questions. Tsidi was busy saying, "When is Ramaphosa going to respond?" And that really tells you a story about Tsidi and the love that she had for this country.
And a French winemaker has been jailed for champagne fraud. Didier Chopin allegedly labelled and sold hundreds of thousands of bottles of fake champagne from 2022 to 2023. He made his wine from Spain and southern France, to which he added aromas and gas to make them sparkling. The fraud was estimated at several million euros. The 56-year-old was sentenced to 18 months behind bars with an additional 30 months suspended. He's also been barred from ever running a company and from working in the champagne industry for at least 5 years. Gold is trading at $3,498.39 an ounce. The rand is at 17.67 to the dollar, 23.68 to the pound, 20.62 to the euro, and Brent crude oil is at $68.15 a barrel.
In Rivonia, you can still expect about an hour delay on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. There's also slow-moving traffic in the Sunning Hill area, Witkoppen Road, between Rivonia Road and Maxwell Drive. And in four ways, traffic remains gridlocked on Winnie Mandela Drive. This is between Witkoppen Road and the N1.
And in your sport, all the latest from Leeds, where the Proteas are playing England in the first ODI of their White Ball series. And Novak Djokovic looks to continue his unbeaten record against Taylor Fritz when they meet in the US Open quarterfinals.
In your weather, a fine Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Johannesburg dropping to overnight lows of 13 degrees, peaking at 30. Pretoria also 13 and 30 degrees, and Vereeniging 12 and 30 degrees. The top story in EWN this hour, 121 dockets that were previously held by the KZN Political Killings Task Team will now be handed over to the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent. For the latest, visit ewn.co.za or download the EWN app.
7:02.
Drive home with John Perlman.
John Perlman, 3 to 6 p.m.
on 92.7 and 106 FM. Let's walk the talk.
7:02 Drive. Good to have you with us on the show for the last hour. It's 8 minutes past 5. I'm John Perlman, together with the team. Lots of interesting stuff over the next 52 minutes or so. Shortly, we're going to be chatting to Jeremy Michaels, spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission of Inquiry. This is the commission looking into the allegations made a while back now by Lieutenant General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi. Commissioner for Police in KwaZulu-Natal. The Commission suffered delays. Promises were made once a second round of undertakings were given as to what would be made available for them by way of infrastructure. 1 week later, we're going to take a closer look at what exactly has been done. That's coming up shortly. And then also related to government business, the Government Pension Funds Administration Agency has been, according to reports in News 24, has hired a company, a forensic services company, to look into which staff might be leaking information about management's alleged irregular conduct to the media. Can you just do that? If you have whistleblowers in your company, can you spend public money? Is it legal to go and say, okay, I'm going to hire someone to find out who's dishing the dirt? May well be legal. Is it ethical? We'll explore both of those possibilities with labour law specialist Puke Maserumule. On the subject of the cricket, Anthony Teixeira just mentioned that South Africa in action against England. England bowled out for 131. South Africa are 63 without loss. And Aiden Markram is going at rapid speed at 24 ball 50, including 8 fours and 2 sixes. Not bad, eh? 10 past 5.
EWN Traffic.
This Eyewitness News traffic is brought to you by Outsurance in partnership with 702. Let's get the latest from the roads then with Karabo Chale. Good afternoon to you once more.
Yes, John. Well, at this stage, we're still dealing with those huge delays. Expect about an hour delay in the Rivonia area. This is on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. Still not 100% clear what's causing this delay at this hour, but you can please let us know if you're on that route. WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702. We are also on X at EWN Traffic. Sunning Hill, also traffic pressure on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell, while in four-ways traffic gridlocked on Winnie Mandela Drive. This is between Witkoppen Road and the N1. Leaving Sandton, there's traffic pressure on Greyston Drive between Sandton Drive and the M1, while in Melrose heading towards Midrand, there's also bumper-to-bumper traffic on the M1 northbound. This is between Ethel Oaklands and Marlborough Drive. In Ekurhuleni, Edenvale, traffic heavily backed up on the R24 westbound. This is between Edenvale Road and the Gilulis interchange, while in Rudeport heading towards Kagiso, bumper-to-bumper traffic on Randfontein Road between Elias Motsoaledi and Collard Avenue. There's also traffic pressure. This is in the Centurion area on the N1 southbound. This is heading towards Midrand between the N14 Brakfontein interchange and Old Joburg Road. If you come across any other traffic issues, you can WhatsApp us on 072-702-1702. We are also on, you can also SMS us on 31702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
20 years ago, you were driving to your child's graduation, and 20 years ago, the Outsurance pointsmen were on the roads, easing traffic congestion. Whether you're an Outsurance client or not, we've all been getting something out. Show the Outsurance pointsmen some love this month and celebrate this 20th anniversary using hashtag pointsmenlove. From Johannesburg, Tshwane and Paarl to Stellenbosch, let's celebrate. Outsurance really means it when they say you always get something out. In proud partnership with 702, Outsurance is a licensed insurer and FSP.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The story of the 121 dockets that have now been returned to the Political Killings Task Force in KwaZulu-Natal. Why would Umongameli, Matamed, and Feroz Kachalia be wanting to block that? That's an operational matter. Why are the politicians getting involved? Is this not what General Mkwanazi was talking about? The politicians like to get involved in operational police matters. What's going on here? Mr. President, No. Something is hitting the water here.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
They've stood tall, served hard and dreamed big. Now it's time to honor the best among them. It's Gauteng's Greatest Awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Tune in on Tuesday 9 September from 6 a.m. when we reveal the winners and celebrate the excellence that makes Gauteng feel like home. Because every time a business wins, the whole community shines. Gauteng's Greatest Awards with 702, powered by Yoko. Let Yoko Counter fuel your business to greatness. Go to yoko.com to explore the new point-of-sale solution, saving hundreds of businesses time and money.
Do you know what's hiding behind the colorful packaging of unhealthy food? Big food companies target children with unhealthy packaged foods that hide high levels of sugar, salt, and fat, which could lead to heart disease, diabetes, and hypertension. But the truth is hidden from consumers. Front of package warning labels are a proven solution to help consumers make informed decisions. The government must act now. We have the right to know what's in our food. Demand front of package warning labels. Sign the petition on heala.org, HEALA.org, by the 30th of September.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
14 minutes past 5 now. A few weeks back, the allegations made by General Nhlanhla Mkhwanazi seemed to be, and indeed were, the most important thing in the country. President Cyril Ramaphosa said as much. He announced the setting up of the Commission of Inquiry to be headed by a former Constitutional Court judge, although he wasn't former at that point, Judge Justice Madlanga. And they were meant to get their work started on the 1st of September, yesterday. But exactly a week ago, first of all, the Commission announced that, well, we can't get underway with hearings because we don't have the equipment, the necessary infrastructure that we were promised. On the same day, Justice Minister Mameluku Kubai admitted that, quote, certain issues could have been avoided, and then went on to say this.
Tools of trade. On the tools of trade, 25 laptops have been delivered and are being configured for all those who are working for the Commission. Secure ICT infrastructure, searchable forensic data storage, cybersecurity solutions, and integrated email website services are at procurement award stage and will be concluded today. I've received a report now that it has been concluded.
Okay, so according to the Justice Minister, Minister Mameluku Kubai, yes, there'd been a delay. It was something that she, in quotes again, could have been avoided, but we're on track. We're ready to go. 25 laptops delivered, and all the other things will be concluded today. So that was a week ago. Let's find out what's happened since. Jeremy Michaels is spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission and joins us now. Mr. Michaels, welcome, and thanks very much for your time. The minister sounded optimistic. The deadline sounded like a tight one and that action would be taken. Where do we stand now? Do you have the laptops? Do you have the secure ICT infrastructure and everything else?
Good evening, John. Indeed, we have taken possession of the necessary hardware and software. Of course, there is a process underway now to ensure that all the hardware is configured, that the software is fully functional. But I think it's very important to say that the team, the investigators, the evidence leaders, have been hard at work over the last few weeks. And that work has continued in preparation for the next phase of the Commission's work, which of course would be the public hearings. As you said, we had fully intended to have the first hearing yesterday, the 1st of September, but this process is now underway given the delays in procurement. And as soon as we are ready and happy that everything is fully functional, we will move towards making an announcement in terms of the new date for the hearings. But as I say, the work has been continuing. It hasn't stopped.
Yes, and that was made clear when you made your earlier announcement a week ago. But I think it's also fair to say, Mr. Michaels, that South Africans, given the reverberations from General Mkhwanazi's allegations, are looking to see the Commission in action. How far away are we from that? First public hearings, is it a month? Is it a week, a fortnight?
Look, obviously we are cautious given what has happened, but fair to say that we are very conscious of the very heavy responsibility on our shoulders, and of course the allegations that Lieutenant General, Mkhwanazi made go to the heart of public trust in the criminal justice system and indeed the rule of law. So conscious of that responsibility and of course the urgency, particularly the President's deadlines, 3 months for an interim report and
Yes.
6 months for the final report, we will make that announcement as soon as we are ready.
I want to go back to where we started in this conversation, Mr. Michaels. You've taken delivery, and I'm assuming roughly the checklist that we heard in the words of the minister is the checklist that we're talking about. What are you checking? Are you checking that the stuff is of the right quality? Is, for example, she spoke about laptops being configured. Is it that hasn't been done, or you need to be sure that it's been done properly?
It's both, actually. I mean, as your listeners will know, when you go to the shop, buy a new laptop, it doesn't come with the software.
Yes.
So firstly, all of that software has to be installed. That is still underway. And to the extent that the team is able to test the software that is, already available, they are doing that. So it is quite a process, but obviously, given the very sensitive nature of the investigation that we are charged with conducting, we want to be absolutely meticulous and absolutely sure that when we next pronounce, and of course there's quite a bit of work that needs to be done.
Yes.
Once the software is fully functional.
Would it be fair at this point to say then that the Department of Justice has now done what they are supposed to do, or might you be going back to them and saying, hang on a bit, we still don't have this or that?
Look, there are one or two loose ends, but those are not necessarily material. And, again, we can only say that we are happy with what has been delivered once
Yes.
it has been tested. So as soon as, the team has had the opportunity to properly check and test. And of course, there's also some training that has to be done on the systems. So once we are happy and comfortable, then we will say so.
Thank you very much. Jeremy Michael, spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission, 22 minutes past 5.
Drive home with John Perlman
on 702. Let's walk the talk.
Certainly does sound as if there is a degree of caginess around the possibility of getting any sort of firm dates, nothing very, very concrete at this point about when the commission will start with this public hearings. Point taken that people are busy and investigating and laying the groundwork, but it really is going to be when the hearings begin, I think, that the public and everyone who's exercised by way of concerns on what the KZN Commissioner had to say will feel, okay, here we go, commission underway. Just my view, but yours, please, on 072 702 1702.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Well, you may have heard, but if you haven't, do go to the News 24 site about some quite extraordinary contracts being concluded by the Government Pensions Administration Agency as a result of what was exposed by News 24 journalist Sikonati Manchancha about huge contracts, and I'm talking 36 million rand, for the refurbishment of offices that did not even belong for which no legal right had been secured by the agency. those kind of things were quite extraordinary. There were also much larger amounts for leasing office space from people who didn't even own those offices. So you would have thought a hot mess, and such a hot mess that the Treasury has moved in and taken control over the agency. Nevertheless, on the day that the finance minister suspended CEO of the agency, Kiribone Madiehe, for these irregularities, she authorized a contract for a forensic services company to hunt down staff suspected of leaking information. So that's the specific point. But what about the general? Are companies entitled to bring in forensic agencies to hunt down whistleblowers? Is there any limit to how they can do that? Let's put that question to someone who knows this very, very well. Puke Maserumule is a labor law specialist and joins us now on 702 Drive. Thank you so much for your time. Is it a blanket right of companies that they can go tracking down whistleblowers and use company money to do that? Or are there some constraints on that? Good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, John. Yeah, tricky question to answer, but first and foremost, a company as an employer is entitled to the protection of its information in terms of confidentiality.
Right.
So if there is an alleged breach of confidentiality, assuming for the moment that it doesn't involve any wrongdoing, then the company as an employer would be entitled to investigate whether an employee has breached his or her duty to keep information confidential, being information which should not necessarily be disclosed to people outside of that company. So the information would have to be confidential to start with. But where the information disclosed relates to alleged wrongdoing, then the protected disclosure comes in, because its purpose is to protect employees who make disclosures relating to information where there has been, or at least where they believe that there has been wrongdoing, which appears to be what employees in this particular instance may have believed. Now, whether or not the disclosure to the media, for example, was as a result of an employee providing that information, or as I understand it, the information had already been disclosed, I think, to the audit committee of this particular entity.
Right.
Whether the disclosure came from that is also a different question. But to answer your question, you can investigate whether or not there's been a breach of confidentiality. Obviously, the reasons behind that kind of investigation will have to be, honest, as it were, or at least be based not on an attempt to withhold information or to victimize an employee who may have acted in good faith.
And just finally, I would have thought in a public institution like the agency, the Pensions Administration Agency, you could argue public interest because this is public money. But I would have thought in a private company, you could argue shareholders' money. Jobs might be put at risk by abuse. Is that a substantial and potentially sufficient defense for someone who finds himself being investigated in this way?
Well, if the company is forced to spend money to determine whether or not there has been a breach of confidentiality, and it establishes that there was an unlawful breach, then obviously the employee may be subjected to discipline. As I say, all of it is subject to whether or not there was wrongdoing. That which is being investigated is something which shouldn't be investigated to start with. If the information disclosed is that there has been a fraud, there shouldn't be, whether it's shareholders' money or taxpayers' money spent to establish who disclosed that information. I guess the investigation should be aimed at establishing who committed the fraud.
Thank you very much. Puke Maserumule is a labor law specialist joining us on 702 Drive, 28 minutes past 5.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebogile Mabota, 1 to 3 p.m.
What advice would you give to everyone listening who is in the midst of the most difficult part of their midlife experience, or a crisis as it's been referred to before, that is feeling stuck and does not see a way out?
I would say it's about renewal. It's this renewal of your thoughts around
around this. It's the point where you stop living by that default and start living by your design. And I know it's a very hard space to be in if you're really sitting in isolation as well. But in an isolation, that's your invitation, as lots of us really don't get.
Seluchani Reddy, the author of Midlife in Blossom.
702 Afternoons.
With Relebohile Maboja.
Let's walk the talk.
Mzansi Powerball and Powerball Plus stand at 94 million rand in total estimated jackpots this Tuesday. Don't delay. Play Powerball for an estimated 44 million rand and Powerball Plus for an estimated 50 million rand today. Buy your tickets now, in store on nationallottery.co.za, the mobile app, cell phone banking, or simply dial *120 *7529 hash for USSD. Panda Pusha Play. Players must be 18 years or older. Play responsibly. Tuba is the proud operator of the National Lottery.
Ah, choices. We love them. Like a Jator dealer asking you, so which one do you like? And you're like, do you like the bold, stylish, head-turning dashing from 4,999 per month? Or the adventurous 7-seater X70 Plus from 5,199 per month? Both. Because yes, choices. Book your test drive at jator.coza and make an excellent choice either way. T's and C's apply. Jator. Drive your future. EWN Business.
The latest from the markets. Stephen Curtis, good afternoon to you.
Afternoon to you, John. Well, extraordinary, which would describe both the growth in Checkers 60 and the gold price. The gold price sailing past $3,500 earlier, then past $3,508, now at $3,514. Really extraordinary. And then Checkers, their story just building momentum. The Checkers 60 up, the business flowing through there, worth roughly the same as Pick n Pay. I mean, it sounds like I'm making it up, but I'm really not. Their service grew by 48% in the year. That's the Checkers 60 app. That, though, still not stopping a sell-off on the JSE All Share, down 0.72% at 101,167 points. Financials down 1.17%, industrials down 1.3%, and resources up, obviously, with a gold price like that, 1.08%. So ShopRite ending the day up 5.39%. We'll hear from Peter Engelbrecht, the ShopRite CEO, on the Money Show this evening. John will also ask him about those two pilot stores in Cape Town that don't have cashiers. He did say that one of the things he's proudest of is that they've grown jobs over the course of their last financial year. So we'll ask them if they're planning to cut jobs based on all of that. Sasol also up by 5% on the day. Gold miners up as you would expect. Anglo Gold, DRD Gold, Gold Fields, and then some of the platinum miners doing quite nicely. Bad day for Bidvest. They were down yesterday after their results, down again by 4.19%. And then some of the consumer shares, including Truworths, down by 4%. The automotive group, Motors, they said that their revenue was down 1%. Their headline earnings per share were up by 5%. And Barlow World saying they haven't found any evidence yet of any wrongdoing by their Russian unit and whether or not it broke American sanctions on the US. In the US itself, as you've got the gold price very high, that kind of tells you where markets are. And that's partly because of the uncertainty over Trump's tariffs, because of that high court ruling, that appeal court ruling rather, in the US late on Friday. This is the first week and the first time Wall Street's had to respond because they were closed yesterday. The Dow Jones is down 0.96%. The Nasdaq is down 1.46%. The S&P 500 is down 1.22% on the day. The gold price now, $3,514.54. Platinum, $1,406.80. Brent crude, $68.84. And the rand to the dollar, 17.69 to the euro, 20.62 to the British pound, 23.67. On the Money Show, the CEO at Motors, the CEO at ShopRite. We'll find out from the international wine critic Tim Atkin why he's given two wines a perfect score of 100. And then, John, on personal finance this evening, why some people earn lots of money and are still poor because they're not saving. I mean, it's great to earn it. Spending it's fun. Saving it is really worth doing. Stephen Curtis, EWN Business.
Thanks, Stephen. Let's get the very latest eyewitness news now with Mbali Dlamini. Mbali, good afternoon.
Thanks, John. Good afternoon. Some communities west of Johannesburg are still battling with dry taps as Joburg Water conducts maintenance work on its aging infrastructure. A number of Coronationville residents who demonstrated yesterday say they have not had any water for 4 weeks now. The utility says infrastructural issues have caused rampant supply shortages for almost a decade, forcing it to stagger access to water. Joburg Water spokesperson Nombuso Shabalala.
We are struggling with aged infrastructure, which does need capital investment, which has not been provided over the years. Hence, we are where we are. So what we are doing now is working in a backlog, so to speak. So we are fixing and addressing infrastructure which was supposed to have been done a couple of years ago.
Taxi Association Codeta has called on the Western Cape government to foster another round of peace talks to resolve a violent minibus taxi dispute in Cape Town. Yesterday, Western Cape MEC for Mobility Isaac Sileku warned he will impose harsher sanctions on Codeta and Kata if they do not urgently resolve their differences. The rival taxi associations failed to reach consensus during peace talks last week, sparking a fresh bout of violence which left 5 people dead. Carlo Peterson reports.
Codeta spokesperson Makusandile Tumana says the Western Cape Mobility Department must intervene to find a solution to the minibus taxi conflict in Cape Town. Tumana says peace talks with Kata broke down after the feuding taxi associations failed to reach consensus about a taxi route from Khayelitsha and Mfuleni to Somerset West.
This is our appeal to the government of the province. Let us try to work together to solve this matter.
Kata spokesperson Nkululeko Sityebi says Kata is open to more peace talks.
It needs us to wake up and sit together and put up some peace agreement or relook on the peace agreement, what we didn't do right or what we can make things right so it can cover everybody.
Tumana says Codeta is also not happy about the implementation of Golden Arrow bus services along the route. Carlo Peterson, Eyewitness News.
And in Afghanistan, the Taliban has called for international assistance following a 6.0 magnitude earthquake, which has killed nearly 800 people. The earthquake struck on Sunday, destroying entire villages across the country's eastern Kunar province, which borders Pakistan. Local authorities have warned that the number is likely to rise once rescuers reach more isolated areas. Relatively shallow earthquakes can cause severe damage in Afghanistan, especially because the majority of people live in low-rise mud brick homes which are vulnerable to collapse. In your weather, a fine Wednesday in store for Gauteng tomorrow. Lows of between 12 and 13 degrees and high of 30 degrees across the province.
Herman, start leaving the Pretoria CBD. There's bumper traffic. This is on Eskiam Pahlele between Van der Hof and Paul Kruger. While in Rivonia, you can still expect about an hour delay on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road. And there's also there's also heavy delays in the Four Ways area. This is on Winnie Mandela Drive between Witkoppen Road and the N1.
The top story in EWN. Some communities in the west of Johannesburg are still battling with dry taps as Joburg Water conducts maintenance work on its aging infrastructure.
In the last 24 hours, this is what's happened in your world.
The Social Development Department says the suspension of long-serving spokesperson Lunga Oliphant is to allow an investigation against her without interference. Oliphant released a scathing statement yesterday saying she was suspended because Minister Sisi Sitolashe believes she leaked information to the Sunday Times newspaper. Her suspension follows an expose in the paper about the department's travel expenses and paying 3 million rand on hotel accommodation in New York City.
EWN, in touch, in tune, and independent.
Remember when you had to wait for dial-up to connect? Technology moves on, so why are people still driving cars like it's 1999? Volvo's plug-in hybrids are the upgrade you've been waiting for. You don't need diesel power, you just need a second electric motor. Just like you updated from dial-up to fiber, you can upgrade your drive with electric for the city and fuel for the open road. Don't be the last one to catch up. You're late for your test drive. It's safe to be brave with Volvo.
Every day I'm hustling. It's our reality as business owners.
And it's good to know that there's someone out there who takes care of the business that makes the business. Gotta love My Way Business Insurance. Saving big on premiums with 24/7 emergency services, plus My Business Assist with marketing, legal, and labor advice services.
Visit myway.co.za or dial 0860 64 64 64 and get a quote today. My Way is a licensed non-life insurer and FSP. T's, C's, and standard rates apply. My Way. Live your way.
702. WhatsApp John
on 072
702
1702.
Ndati John. You know, Ndati John, the spokesperson of Madlanga Commission just came on air and actually said nothing. He actually said nothing. I'm sorry, with all due respect, but he said nothing. This is Puti from Woodbank.
Hi, John. No. These people are playing with us. Operating system. To put on the operating software to operate. John. I mean, I am no IT expert. And even I know how to put an operating system on a brand new computer. A brand new computer, John. No. These people are just playing with us. They are definitely just playing with us. We can't have this thing keep going on the way it is.
Hi, John. I'm listening to the conversation about the software and hardware that needs to be ready for the commission. You know, in my head, the first time I heard the story, I asked myself, what happened to all the equipment, both software and hardware, that was used during the Commission of Inquiry, state capture? What happened to all that? I mean, they're going to buy new things for a new commission. 2 months down the line, another commission is set up. New things are going to be bought again. Just wondering what happens to these equipments after this commission. Bongani from Kagiso.
So, a couple of observations on that, and thank you for that feedback on the interview we had with Jeremy Michaels, spokesperson for the Madlanga Commission. 2 points to make. The one is, I don't think it's just a matter of putting on software. First of all, they need to set up very, very secure document storage systems, and most of those documents, I suspect, if not all of them, are going to be virtual documents. It's not going to be a paper library. Secondly, I think it's fair to say that having, raised a red flag very publicly and quite pointedly last week, I think the Madlanga Commission is not going to get into another dust-up with the Justice Department quite yet. I think they made their point. The Department of Justice responded, or the Minister of Justice responded, and now there's a little bit of eggshell dancing, none of which, of course, means that some of your discomfort and dismay at delays in these things is not justified. I'm not suggesting that at all, but I'm trying to give the interview some context. 19 minutes to 6.
EWN Sport.
So, Anthony Teixeira, Proteas chasing a low total. How are they doing chasing that low total? Good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon, John. The South Africans out there batting as they chase 132 for victory in the first ODI against England. What we've seen has been absolute masterclass from Aiden Markram. He hits a 23-ball half century, currently at the crease on 64 alongside Ron Rickleton, who's there on 26. South Africa 97 for the loss of no wickets in the 16th over, requiring just 35 runs for victory. Earlier today, we did see England dismissed for 131, lowest total at Headingley since 1975. Keshav Maharaj taking 4 for 22. In rugby, the Springboks are continuing their preparation for the Rugby Championship clash against the All Blacks Saturday morning. Here's wing Cheslin Colby.
Every opportunity you get to play against New Zealand, as you mentioned, the history behind it, that's massive, and I can probably reflect on each and every other player that's the same, playing against the number one team currently at the moment, and that's where you want to come up against and measure yourself as an individual and as a team, where you're at and if you're still on par. So yeah, definitely excited, and I haven't played at Eden Park before, but I've heard a lot of great talks and memories, so yeah, super excited.
Switching to tennis, where the US Open quarterfinals will begin at the Arthur Ashe Stadium in the next few moments. On courts, Jessica Pegula up against Barbara Krejcikova. Still to come in the first session on day 10, we'll see men's second seed Carlos Alcaraz against Yuri Lahechka. The Spaniard has now reached the last 8 in his last 12 Grand Slams.
Those stats are really great to know for me, just to see that I'm making really good results in the really good tournaments. Obviously, sometimes I'm really hard with myself that the quarterfinal is not enough, semi-final is not enough sometimes. But you have to see more than the results. I have to see if I play well.
Under the lights overnight, Arina Sabalenka up against Marketa Vondrousova, and we have Novak Djokovic meeting Taylor Fritz. Anthony Teixeira, Eyewitness News Sport.
EWN Traffic.
Looks like the traffic difficulties move to the Pretoria CBD. Let's get all the details and welcome once again Karabo Chale.
Well, that's right, John. If you're leaving the Pretoria CBD at this hour, traffic is heavily backed up in the Hermanstad area on Eskiam Pahlele between Van der Hof and Paul Kruger, while in Rivonia, expect more than an hour delay still on Rivonia Road between the N1 and North Road, while in Sunninghill, traffic pressure on Witkoppen Road between Rivonia Road and Maxwell. In Fourways, traffic remains gridlocked on Winnie Mandela Drive. This is between Witkoppen Road and the N1. Leaving Sandton, traffic sluggish on Greyston Drive between Sandton Drive and the M1, and in Edenvale, traffic remains heavily backed up on the R24 westbound from Edenvale Road all the way to the Gilulis interchange. If you come across any other traffic issues, please WhatsApp us on 072 702 1702.
There's more EWN on air, online, and on the EWN app.
You're with John Perlman on 702.
Let's walk the talk.
702 Drive, 16 minutes to 6. Well, as I'm sure you've heard listening to the news and other coverage throughout the day here on 702 Drive, the Prime Media family and a larger community of people touched and deeply affected by the life of our beloved colleague Tsidi Madia. We were all gathered together at our building in Sandton, paying tribute to her. And there were many, many wonderful memories, lots of sadness, of course, but a sense of real celebration as well. Well, one of the speakers today was somebody who you know well, Alpha Ramushwana, together with Tabiso Gorba, the Joburg members of Tsidi's politics team. They were reflecting on many things that happened between them. And in the course of the conversation, Oren Singh, again, somebody who you know well from, in particular, his work on organized crime in South Africa and some other terrific stories, illegal mining, Oren, very prominent in that story, told a story of how Alpha and Tsidi had something of, let's call it a discussion over the fact that Alpha had never actually heard of Bob Marley. And Clement Manyatela chipped in and suggested he should be escorted out of the building right now. Alpha's with us now. Alpha, you have heard of Bob Marley, and thank you, by the way, for your beautiful and very well chosen words today under difficult circumstances. But there's been some light moments, and I want to dwell on this one as we, I suppose, reflect a little bit on Tsidi's life and impact. So they're saying this about you. You'd never heard of Bob Marley. First of all, is this true?
Yeah, I mean, look, we're having a normal discussion in the newsroom about politics, and then we ended up talking about music. And Tsidi was my manager, but we really loved bonding over music.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't agree on the kind of artists and the kind of music that I would listen to. And they started speaking about, if I may say, this guy that, that I don't know. And they start speaking about Bob Marley. And I'm like, is Bob Marley the Jamaican guy?
Yes.
And everyone just burst in laughter, asking, Alpha, how didn't you know Bob Marley? Where did you grow up? Where were you raised?
Yes.
How didn't you know Bob Marley? But and I'm saying to them, I mean, I grew up, I'm a Gen Z, not a millennial, not a Gen X, a Gen Z. So we grew up very much to Kabza the Small, DJ Maporesa. We grew up in Pretoria, a genre that we call Bacardi. So there was no time and no chance for me to even listen to reggae music. So I wasn't really familiar with Bob Marley.
Okay, so now Tsidi's saying, and presumably she gives you some links or she takes out her phone or whatever, and you get some Bob Marley into your musical consciousness. Were you won over? Did you like him?
Look, I think the first thing that I said was, oh, he reminds me of Lucky Dube.
Okay, well,
At least I knew
that's
Lucky
fair
Dube.
enough, yeah.
Yes. I mean, it is the same genre.
Yes.
And they played Redemption Song. That was the first song that they played for me. And I was like, oh, this is actually good. It's touching. He's telling a story. He's a good artist. And till today, I still listen to Redemption Song. I think it's the only Bob Marley song that I listen to today.
It's really interesting you mentioned that, because while we were preparing for the show, we set up the music in advance. And I said, partly because of it's a magnificent song in my view, but secondly, a little bit about the mood of the day. Let's go for Redemption Song. So we're going to play that now and enjoy it. And then I'm going to, while it's playing, ask you to contemplate this particular question. Which artist did you have to educate a friend, colleague, or family member about? And I'm putting the word educate in inverted commas, because we're not on some serious mission here, but you would have had that same response. Sorry, who is that? Never heard of that. By the way, we have those conversations both ways across the generational divide here a lot, because trust me, there's a whole lot of music colleagues talk about, and I say, sorry, is that the name of the song or the name of the artist? And if you did go about that education process, did you succeed? And did they pass? I don't know how we evaluate these things, but while we think about it and while you get ready to get in touch with us on 072 702 1702 with your song and your artist and the little story that goes with it, or if you want to chat, 011 883 0702. Here is Redemption Song.
Stay rabbi, sold I to the merchant ships. Minutes after they took I from the bottomless pit, but my hand was made strong by the hand of the Almighty. We forward in this generation triumphantly. Won't you help to sing?
So, Alpha, Tsidi's educating you about Bob Marley. Presumably, you're not just going to leave it at that. You must have said to her, well, have you ever heard? Fill in the blank for us and tell me who the artist is.
The artist was Drake. And I mean, Drake is a very known artist all over the world. But at the time, Drake was fighting with another rapper called Kendrick Lamar.
Right.
They were beefing, as we say. And Tsidi was more of a Kendrick Lamar fan. And she would tell me about some of Kendrick Lamar's songs and why Kendrick Lamar, according to her, is a better rapper than Drake. And I pleaded my case.
Yes.
So Drake has so-and-so albums. He's the most streamed artist in the world, which is a fact. The most streamed rapper in the world, which is a fact. And she went to one of her nieces, in fact, and said, Alpha keeps on telling me to listen to Drake. What do you think? And the niece happened to be a Kendrick Lamar fan as well. So she was, oh no, Alpha's crazy. Let's not listen to Drake. So I did tell her about Drake, but it didn't go well. I don't think she ever tried to listen to him.
Okay, so 1-0 the score on musical conversions. Thank you, Alpha, and thank you again for your wonderful words earlier today at our memorial. So here you have it. That's the question for you. Somebody you tried to educate. Which artist did you have to educate a friend, colleague, or family member about? Your answers, please. Let's go. 072 702 1702.
Oh, have no fear for atomic energy.
Aubrey Masango.
Weekday evenings,
8 to midnight.
The story of the 121 dockets that have now been returned to the Political Killings Task Force in KwaZulu-Natal. Why would Umongameli, Matame, and Feroz Kachalia be wanting to block that? That's an operational matter. Why are the politicians getting involved? Is this not what General Mkwanazi was talking about? The politicians like to get involved in operational police matters. What's going on here? Mr. President, No. Something is hitting the water here.
Aubrey Masango.
8 to midnight on 702.
702.
Corporates That Care promotes and encourages corporate leaders and all citizens to walk the talk for a better South Africa. Catch Corporates That Care this Wednesday at 10 to 9, featuring Cipla. Their CEO, Paul Miller, will be in conversation with Clement Manyatela. And join us every Wednesday as we highlight the efforts of companies and brands dedicated to building our country. Corporates That Care is a Primedia Cares initiative with 702 and Primedia Outdoor. 702, let's walk the talk and make a difference together.
At the heart of global conversations shaping our future, Africa's voice is more important than ever. As proud lead sponsor of the B20, the Standard Bank Group is honored to showcase the continent's growth, partnerships, and potential on the world stage. Because driving Africa's growth isn't just our ambition, it's our purpose. Tune in every Monday from 3 p.m. for the Standard Bank B20 In Brief for key insights and updates around the B20. Standard Bank is an authorized FSP and registered credit provider.
You're with John Perlman
on 702.
Okay, so the songs that you try to educate other people about and what kind of success you had. Jared says, my sister had to teach me who Eminem was. I'd heard of, no, Jared, where's your message going? Here, I've got it back. I'd heard of Slim Shady before, but I thought he was a character on a TV show. It was rather embarrassing, really, says Jared, who is safe from his embarrassment, perhaps is because he's out in Vancouver. Lovely to get a message from the Canadian West Coast. Perry says, I had to introduce my wife to Dido. Her favorite is Thank You by Dido. So, Perry, mission undertaken, mission accomplished. Masehuputso says Queen, Bob Marley, Tupac, Notorious, Big, Whitney, B.I.G., Whitney Houston, Michael Jackson, Brenda Fassie. My kids had to know it was mandatory. Now they know them. Now they know them in their sleep. Paul has been spreading the word about Jeff Beck. He was the guitarist for guitarists. Simply inimitable. 072 702 1702. Who is the artist you had to educate family members or others about? What a genius. You think that, sometimes when we get missionary about these things, we almost act as if we ourselves had discovered them. Messages, please, on 072 702 1702. Let's hear a few of your thoughts.
John, the name you're looking for is Musication. I remember I was musically educated by a friend of mine about a certain British artist, Jamie Cullum. And the first song I heard was If I Ruled the World. And she was like, you'd love the piano solo on that song.
If I ruled the world, every day would be the first day of spring. Every heart would have a new song to sing, and we'd sing of the joy every morning would bring.
If I Rule the World, Jamie Cullen, introduced to that by a friend and delighted about that. Shandu says, my songs Toda and Tehila told me about Drake, but I'm not fully converted. Shandu says, but I do listen. Toshang says, I educated my sister and a few friends about Pink. She's more than a rock star. She's a phenomenal vocalist and soulful. It went well. Now I have people enjoying Raise Your Glass because of me. By the way, unsuccessful conversions also count. You're welcome to send us those stories too. Back to your voice notes.
Yes, John, I did teach one of my friends, Mike High, about the artist Oliver Mtukuzi. The song is Matitika from Mash.
Gorgeous stuff. Oliver Mtukudzi, Matitska. Now, let me find this one. I like this a lot, actually, from Jill, who says, I educated my teenage daughter about the Doors. Wow, Jill, quite a project with Light My Fire. It's a terrific track. She loved it to the extent that it became a standard by which she assessed the value of some of her friends. In other words, this is what my mom likes. I like it now. You better like it. Otherwise, we may need to talk. One more.
Hi, John. Bonsa from Pretoria. I actually had this artist on 702, AJ Kent. I think Bongani was interviewing him, and it was for the first time I hear him. And they played the song, The Singing Guitar. Oh, wow. When I got back from work, I gave it to my husband to listen to it. And since then, it's a song that we listen to on a Sunday afternoon. Thank you, John. Bye.
Close with something that Bongani Bingwa opened. AJ Gent, The Singing Guitar, bringing to an end 702 Drive. Good night.
And now, The Money Show.
With Stephen Grootes, live on 92.7 and 106 FM. Streaming on the Prime Media Plus app.
And DSTV channel 856.
The Money Show with Stephen Grootes is brought to you by ABSA CIB, proud sponsor of the SARA Rail Conference 2025. Powering progress, connecting